in on the east and west coast of the United States, and also Canada.
North America, basically,
Yeah, Happy New
or
Year.
Western
We've already
Hemisphere.
had our. You've got your microphone on, haven't you, Dee?
Yeah,
We've already had our New Year's Eve about over 12 hours ago now, and we had lots of good wishes for the world, for ourselves as well, and the various things that one would hopefully wish for. Peace in the world and peace within ourselves and for others, and also because we're both vegan, Dee Dee and I, we wish for there to be a vegan planet, so there's peace for non-human animals, and we stop eating, wearing, and using them. And so we had various wishes, didn't we, Dee Dee? And it's
yeah.
sort of a bit of a ritual every New Year's Eve to do that. When I was younger, I might have gone to a party, but now not so much. and so we're hoping that you're having a lovely evening, and that you will be having I'm having trouble seeing this content, Dee Dee, so I can't really sort of I can't
Why?
actually see the live stream online, but you can
Why
see it,
not?
can't you?
I can see it. Yeah,
Oh,
Holly is here.
oh, okay.
Happy New Year, Holly. Lovely to see you.
So I'm sure it'll pop up soon. I tend to, for some reason, get a delayed. Oh, there it is. It's there now. Um, so we we are hoping that everybody will have a happy New Year's and happy birthday, Holly. We know that this is your birthday today,
Yeah,
so happy
happy
birthday and
birthday.
happy birthday. And so there's a few hours before New Year's Eve on the east coast and west coast of the U.S. and in Canada as well. And so yeah, feel free to come and say hello, and we talk about anything and everything. Hi Jan, how are you? Neither Wonder Cat is here,
Okay.
and
Yay.
hold on a second. I need to turn off that's it. So let's see. Oh, okay. Thank you, Holly. And yeah, I hope that you had a good day today, Holly. I hope that because it's your birthday,
Yeah,
that
that's
you
a
will have
lovely
time
day.
for yourself, and that's always important to have some time just for yourself.
Mm.
and and we're just as usual playing No Man's Sky because Dee Dee doesn't need to be.
I don't have to put much attention to it.
Yes, you didn't have to put much attention to it. Oh, hi Ginny, how are you? Happy New Year to you as well. Nice to see you. I don't know if you noticed, Ginny, but pretty much usually in live streams at some point I'll say, I wonder where Ginny is. I hope she's okay. Yes, it's a fabulous day, a birthday, Jan. The only problem is people tend to roll these holiday things. Like Dee Dee's birthday was a couple of days ago,
Yeah,
and
and always I would get combined birthday and Christmas presents and so
yeah.
on when I was a kid.
Oh,
And
somebody can't hear me properly.
oh,
Uh,
are you on?
I am on. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you check that out?
Oh, that's right. We turned it back. Hang on.
What's
I'll have
that?
to.
Oh. Oh no. Yes, we actually Dee Dee forgot to plug in the. Oh wow.
Okay, should be
Okay,
done.
so sorry about that, Dee Dee. Had Dee Dee was talking to her daughter just before, and we actually switched over my mic to another output. So sorry, I was. I
Let
hope
me just
everybody
check
caught
that
what I
it's.
said in the
Oops.
beginning, which was that we had our Happy New Year's about 12, 14 hours ago, and we did a lot of wishing, good wishes for the planet, for
Yeah.
human and non-humans, for a vegan planet, for peace and the end to endless wars, and a whole bunch of stuff. We usually spend about a half an hour going through all the different wishes for good things for the planet and also for ourselves, and we were wanting to just say, I'm repeating this because I had my microphone plugged into the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So and we were also wishing to have for the rest for a good New Year's for the US, the East Coast and West Coast, because I know it's not quite there yet, and Canada, of course, and anybody else who tunes in from anywhere. So that's what we were wishing for. And let's see. Well, I must have sounded like I was just talking from a faraway place in the beginning.
Places
there.
With strange sounding names.
Faraway places with strange sounding names. There's this really kind of xenophobic song by what's her name?
Jo Stafford.
Jo Stafford, and she's got a beautiful voice.
She's got a beautiful voice.
Fantastic
it's
voice. She was a Republican, sadly,
period.
but when that kind of meant something, I suppose. But yeah, that's a nice song, but it's actually xenophobic at the same time.
That's the kind of thing you
Too
want.
bad.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, and we were wishing Holly a happy birthday because she's New Year's Eve is her birthday. So happy birthday, Holly, and I hope that you did something nice for yourself. And it's 8:39 there. Is that Canada? Hang on a second. I think Jan is in Canada. Let's see. Yeah, Calgary. That's right, Calgary.
Oh, I just realised I'm in the wrong place.
Whoops. What's that, Didi?
Oh, I just realised I can't see. I've
Alberta. Oh, okay,
I'm gonna
Alberta.
have to.
Why did I think it was Calgary? That's strange.
I don't know.
And I'm
because
going
of
down
Banff.
to. Is that Neil Young song? I'm going down to Alberta. Do 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 do. Da 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 da. Come what may. The good times have all gone, and I'm bound for moving on. I'll look for you if I ever pass that way. That's about Alberta, isn't it, Didi?
I don't know.
That Neil Young song.
Yeah.
So it's 10:17 p.m. Here. That's the East Coast, New York State. Hey, Holly.
Yeah.
So I hope people remembered your birthday, Holly.
Yes. And I hope you had a good one.
Yes. So what's been happening with anybody? Anybody have something exciting that's happened or not? So where are we in this system,
Okay, well,
Didi?
I'm in the hangar of my freighter.
Right.
And this is my little spaceship, the one with the TARDIS interior.
Oh, okay.
The biggest spaceship on the inside of all of them. Oh no, I didn't get far enough away from my thing, and I automatically landed again.
Oh, I'm glad people remembered. Yeah, you never know. Huh.
I'll have to take off again.
Sometimes with all the chaos that's going on, you couldn't blame people for forgetting.
Forgetting what?
And let's see now. So I've just been watching.
There we go.
I've just been watching catching up on some podcast stuff around the place, and still don't know I don't really know what's happening in the finality of this terrible mess that they've made of giving out $2,000 to people in the US, and I know that there are a bunch of Democrats voted with Mitch McConnell
working now?
to veto. What's that?
Is your live stream, can you read it now? Can you see it?
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, I can't see Geraldine. Can you see Geraldine there?
No.
Why can't I see her? Or him?
Well, you can't see it because you're me. You and I are the same person.
Yeah, but Geraldine, why can't I see?
I don't know, because something. You need to change identities.
Why?
I don't know, because YouTube.
That's weird. Because YouTube. I guess I could, no, $2,600. I mean, is that the final thing now, Holly? Because I know there was about 40 Democrats voted with Mitch McConnell to veto the $2,000, and apparently
those Democrats should be chucked straight out.
Yeah, and apparently Mitch McConnell had added in some ugly things into that bill to dissuade some from voting.
Oh, yeah, that's
with
the way.
it. I don't know. It's just
that's
the
a
poison,
weird thing. I mean, one of the
pill
lovely
stuff.
things about Australian law is you're not allowed to do that sort of shit.
Right, you're not
you're
allowed
not
to
allowed
put poison pill type things.
Yeah, you're not allowed to put poison pills into bills. I mean, if the bill is about, a relief package, it has to be about a relief package. It can't be about anything other than a relief package.
I'm sure, though, that they were quite fine, the Democrats, with not voting for that $2,000. Even though they might sort of claim, oh well, we didn't want to vote for those two.
Well, why didn't people in the Senate take that measure out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or why didn't, if they voted for it and it had been amended to put something in, it would have to go back to the House anyway.
Yeah.
And they could take it out again.
Yeah. Actually, it was somebody put in. I'm a little confused about this thing too. I'm going to have to. I don't really understand. Hang on a sec. Let me just. Somebody gave a list of the Democrats who kind of vetoed the thing. Let's see where it is.
Okay.
Maybe it's here. Crap. I can't find it now. There was a list of things. Maybe I've retweeted it. A list of people. And can I find it? No, I cannot. Anyhow, I'm sure I saw Cory Booker's name there. And just by the way, I think Donald Trump must be furious because YouTube took down one of his videos where they said he's making false claims. Now, I don't mind. I think, yes, he made false claims, but YouTube doesn't take down every video that makes false claims about things.
No.
So this is where it's YouTube deciding arbitrarily to take down someone's thing,
to censor the president.
and then not do other things. I mean, this is where it goes. This is all going very sideways, and they're just going to anybody. I mean, they took down a video of mine which was talking about the Proud Boys and that Steal the Vote march where they burnt a Black Lives Matter flag on the ground, and I was likening it to when there was a group of there was a bunch of white supremacists in Oklahoma, I think it was, that lynched this black man and burnt him alive outside. And it's the same, like the comparisons are very strong. And excuse me, and they took down that video of mine. This is sort of like, this is ridiculous. You can't even discuss these white supremacist sort of violent gangs like the Proud Boy, violent hate organizations,
without YouTube sort of thinking, oh no, I don't like that word Proud Boys, or you know what I mean. And it's their algorithms.
I think you used the word fascist.
Yeah, and their algorithms. You know, they just sort of see the word fascist, or they see the Proud Boys there or something, and they just it just rips your video out. There's no explanation. So this is where it's YouTube is just such a shit show. It really effing is. So the only reason I'm not if I had a big channel and I was talking about these things, I think at some point they'd just pull the plug. If I had lots of subscribers, I'd be in deep doo-doo at this point. Didi, with my content.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ContraPoints, Natalie Wynn, or some of the other things talk about it, although they use a bit of code words, alt-right, or...
She doesn't talk about imperialism much, though. She doesn't talk about it at all.
No, she talks about fascism, though.
Yeah, but I mean... Excuse me, the imperialism thing is a big no-no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so anyway, and but that's the way it is until they make these places, like a public square, and make it a public utility. Yeah, it's always going to be like that, and they're not going to do that because they're quite happy with YouTube and all these social media things censoring the left in particular, the real left, not the faux left, and they're more than happy for them to do that, and because they're all in cahoots with one another anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, who said that? I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget who said that.
I don't know if I agree with that anymore. I think at one point I may have thought that was a good thing to say, but I think the nature of speech and communication has changed to such a degree, and there's so unequal an access to platforms that I think it's all right to say certain people should be restricted in terms of what they say on platforms.
You may want to stop playing while you're trying to formulate some thoughts, Didi.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a little distracted. Yeah, Voltaire, that's it. Yeah. Did you want to elaborate on that, Didi?
No, just that was just it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but then, see, where does that stop, though, Didi? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Where does it stop? And
but
usually it's a gateway. Any of this blocking of fascists like Proud Boys is really just a gateway to the left anyway.
Yeah.
And it always has been, like knocking off Alex Jones in the beginning. Everybody on the left knew that was just the beginning. And then you get Facebook, which is all connected to the Atlantic Council, which is just a big right-wing warmongering think tank. And they look at all those 800 pages that they diced, and a lot of them were anti-imperialist. And did you hear the right-wing, far-right say anything about that? No.
Yeah.
They don't care. Did you even hear any of the mainstream media mention it? No. It's like... The left, when they do that to the left, the real left, it's the last thing you'll hear about. No one will talk about that.
Yeah.
They just want to quietly kill you off,
Yeah.
Knock you off one by one or in a bunch. Nobody will talk about it, and they'll keep doing that and keep suffocating you with algorithms and all of that kind of thing, and hopefully knock you off without anybody even noticing.
Yeah.
That's what the whole plan of that is.
Yeah.
Because the last thing...
Well, that's what they do anyway.
I mean, that's why...
The thing is that's what they do anyway.
Well, no, but they don't want to bring attention to the real left because there's actually things that like the right and the faux left want anybody to know about, and that is the constant imperialist wars, the constant lies to get into wars, the constant propaganda to get into wars. The last thing the faux left and the alt-right and the far right, etc., want is for anybody to pay any attention at all to these imperialist wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why you'll never get Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ever even mentioning Jimmy Dore in this force the vote thing, because heaven forbid, right?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Heaven forbid that anybody would pay attention to because he mentions imperialism fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that brought to attention to, because that would mean everybody would start thinking, oh, the Democratic Party is as bad as the GOP when it comes to pushing more war for more, a regime, knocking over democratically elected governments like Venezuela and Bolivia.
Sure.
They don't want anybody to think about it.
Both sides are servants of the corporations, mainly.
What's that?
Mostly both sides are servants of corporate interests and the interest of economic imperialism.
I can't
Geraldine,
see.
You'll have to say what Geraldine said, because I can't
see anything. I'm going to have to.
She's saying good things. Holly's agreeing.
Yeah, I can't see.
Trump is a symptom, not a problem. Yeah.
I'm going to have to log in as somebody else because I can't see. Hang on.
You do. You go away and come back as a different person.
Yes.
It's lucky we can do that. Now, is there anything?
Let's see. Okay.
At all?
Oh, you'll have to.
Oh.
Okay. So Geraldine said, Holly, do you think that both sides use Trump as an idiot oligarch to place blame on for the fall of democracy when it was really the duopoly and CIA? If Trump's a shithead still, but I don't know. And Geraldine said, I just feel like it's so convenient that we all place the blame on him when these problems were here long before Trump and will be here long after. Yep.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
and
I think on this channel we're pretty clear that Trump is not the only problem, and that it would be an absolute mistake to think that we can back off at all just because Biden's in. Biden's an absolute war hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be going for stealing resources and all that sort of stuff for all he's worth.
Yeah. So anyway, I think Donald Trump must have blown a gasket when he saw YouTube take down that video.
Yeah.
Gives you an idea of who Google and Twitter are supporting. Who they feel is more convenient to their business model.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
They probably didn't like the fact that Donald Trump was threatening to take them, threatening to take them to court, and things like that, and so that probably didn't go down
terribly
too well, even though they need to be taken to court. But it's a pity Donald Trump only is interested in, if it affects him in some way personally. Forget all the other censorship. That's fine. But if it affects him and his, steal the vote thing and all of that, his electoral fraud claims and everything.
Yeah.
So let's see. Here you go. Joe Biden says, in 2021, we're going to build a brighter future. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. For who?
Tell us another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brighter future for who?
Yeah. Yeah, really.
We can create technopolises. That was a horrible idea.
What was that?
In the 80s, there was this push in Australia for building a technopolis.
A technopolis?
Technopolis.
What's that?
The idea was another major city that would have all kinds of particularly high-tech manufacturing and so on.
Yeah.
And you would have all these places for workers.
Yeah.
But part of the idea was you would only be allowed to live there if you were a worker while you were a worker.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Uh-huh.
Or your family could live there, but and that it would have private security guards and stuff instead of police, and
right.
Basically it would be a corporate city.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was like a precursor of some of the modern, like the Toronto high-tech thing and that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But I think it would have been a place where you wouldn't have the poor or people who were unemployed because you'd throw them out of the city as soon as they weren't useful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It might be a nice kind of place to live and work if you were useful. And if you weren't, that was just tough. You were gone. Kind of an awful idea, really. But it would be controlled. I mean, it's also the idea of it being controlled and run, or law and order being maintained by private security instead of police. I mean, it's basically, it starts to get into the corporate state, you know? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just posting something.
That.
I probably should have had a little bit to eat before because now I've got a hankering for something to eat. Like.
Oh no.
Probably I should actually have some of that Christmas cake that you made.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, there are some things I could talk about, but
Trish
I'm not
has been
sure.
avoiding the Christmas cake because we've probably been eating too much.
Yeah, too much cake.
And too much stuff generally.
Too much stuff in general.
You know, it would be nice if you're going to get up and do something.
Yeah.
Or I could get up and do something.
Holly said, I can't stand listening to Biden, and he hasn't even been inaugurated yet. Yeah, I don't mind listening to him, even though I know he's... Excuse me, even though I know he's full of nonsense and lies, but I'd prefer to... I can deal with him.
What he's planning.
I can deal with him better than listening to Trump, who is just almost incomprehensible at times, you know, and there's baby sentences and all of that, like, and then the fascist rhetoric he was doing towards the end. But I know that Biden is lying, and he talks in quiet tones, so I can kind of deal with that better in some ways.
Except that he's talking about things like invoking the Defense Act.
Oh, sure.
So that he can control corporations and industry and that sort of thing, and that's straight out of a fascist thing.
But that's what they do in kind of wartime type things, where they...
Yeah.
That's what you do when you want to take over industries to make more ventilators and stuff like that, if that's what he's doing.
Well,
yes,
Biden, except as a precedent.
Not that don't get me wrong, I'm not I don't
I
think
know
Biden
why
is
he
better
says
than
he's
Trump.
doing it.
Pardon?
I know why he says he's doing it. I just have problems with it, I suppose, because it's like, well, yes, and they use the Patriot Act for finding terrorists, you know.
Yeah, but in this case, though, they're in such dire shape, though they actually need to have some industries taken over, but not in the way of Donald Trump doing it, where he was giving his buddies,
Yeah.
you know, just giving his buddies heaps of money to do stuff which actually was really, really badly done, and it was all about lining the pockets of his friends. I mean, what was the name of that guy, Mr. Pillow or something?
I don't know.
Anyway, who knows? They're all as corrupt as get up, and they're all
as corrupt.
It's just a big kleptocracy, two sides of the. Yeah, Obama's really awful. I wrote this terrible review of his book, even though I haven't read his book. I wrote a bad review of it in was it Goodreads?
Wrote a bad review anyway.
I just kind of said all the different things that he did that's really effed, and then said, why would anybody believe anything he says in here? You're not going to hear the truth, because look at all the things he's done. You're not going to hear anything about that. And I gave him like a 1 star or something.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoyed that.
We get our little pleasures here and there.
Yeah. Where are you from, Geraldine?
Yes, I have a very hard time listening to Obama.
What's that?
Holly says can't listen to Obama either, and I said I have a very hard time listening to Obama.
Yeah.
I think he's
yes,
such a
because
lying.
all Obama does now is almost do the just shaming people who are actual progressives, you know, who are actually on the left, just shaming them for anything that he can, and then there was the vote shaming, and I, you know, he's just shut the fuck up and go away and spend his time on his
speaking tour.
Branson's yacht and on his very expensive speaking tours, and just stay out of things. Because all he's done is just support white supremacy, you know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's good if people, apart from organising outside of this duopoly, you know, in grassroots movements and stuff, maybe consider supporting a third party.
Yes.
Like Party for Socialism and Liberation, or Movement for a People's Party.
Really,
I think
people
the Greens
just need to work on
kind of gone downhill.
People need to work on grassroots activism, because that's the only way anybody is ever going to listen electorally.
Oh, hi, Furious. How are you? Happy New Year to you.
I can't see what you say, but Trish will tell me what
Oh, yes,
they say.
I can. I changed my username so I could see. Somebody else I had a problem with seeing their comments. So, how are you? I hope that everything's going well. And Happy New Year to you. So yeah, anyway, the third party things. I'm okay, feeling stable, thanks. So that's good. That's always a good thing.
Feeling stable,
yes. Yes, feeling stable. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sort of, I could probably say a similar thing. Feeling sort of stable. And
could you?
At the moment, now I'm starting to feel a bit that the last week and a half has not been fun. Well, the week and a bit. But I'm starting to sort of come back to normal now. And and I've got a little cat on my lap who's purring
Yes.
away. Well, he's not so little. He's a big black cat called Nandi, who we
Yes.
call Little Love Lord, because he's just sort of
He's just so
constantly love
sweet.
blinking and giving love to everybody, and just kind of just a big bear who doesn't want to have any problems with anybody.
He's gorgeous.
He's gorgeous. Yeah.
He likes
Oh,
to,
hello, David.
he
David
likes-
is here.
Hi,
Look, Didi.
David. Hi.
Nice to see you,
Happy New Year's
David.
to you.
Happy New Year's to you. I'm enjoying your photos of California and stuff, David, on your Instagram. Particularly that one with the moon in the distance, the moon above the skyline. I always want to be able to take a really good photo of the moon with, like all the craters and stuff. I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah, we'd need a more than our camera. We'd need
Yeah.
a
I had a
proper
doctor.
telescope with the ability to scan.
Right.
You have to have a little gear, I think, to.
Yeah. I used to go and see a doctor who used to take
Fabulous photos of-
fantastic photos of galaxies and stuff,
Yeah,
which was amazing.
they were. Yeah,
Yeah.
He used quite high-powered telescopes. I mean, it was a real thing for him.
Oh, okay. David was saying, thanks, it's been gorgeous here in LA lately because we got rain last week. That's good, and I'm so glad that the
Yeah.
smoke has settled down, because that was really awful.
Yeah.
You must really kind of grit your teeth when it starts to head into spring and summer, just knowing every summer now it's just a natural thing to have constant fires everywhere, and it's a wonder there's any forest left, isn't it, Didi? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
insane. We lost 180,000 acres across the river.
We had more than that.
180,000 acres.
Yeah, I
Or-
think it was much more than that.
No, I think that's what it was, Didi. 180,000 acres, which is a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it was hectares. I think it was acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to go look.
Didi doesn't believe me. So, yeah, at the end of 2019, we had the terrible fires
That's in Tasmania.
in Tasmania, and
The next year it was Australia.
and the next year it
the
was the
mainland.
whole of mostly the east coast of the lower part of Australia. Terrible, terrible fires.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, that was really horrible. And because of El Nino this year, I think that's kind of been, there's been some respite from that. I don't think we are going to get the kind of things we saw last year. But it's becoming the norm here, of course, with the fires and stuff. Not so much in Tasmania, but on the mainland. Yes, it's Holly's birthday today, as well as
Yes.
being New Year's Eve. Yeah. Actually, they do a swap too. I think California firefighters come over here and
And we go
help,
there.
and we go over there and help them. Hey, unapologetic vegan Jennifer is here. Hello.
Hi Jen.
Hi, how are you? Happy New Year, Jen.
Happy New Year. I hope it's going to be a Happy New Year.
Yes. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Like last year, every year lately, Didi and I, we do this sort of sitting down and going through wishing peace to different ones in the
Yeah.
universe and on the planet, and, just going through the different things that we're hoping will happen or won't happen. And if you knew what was going to happen in the coming year, you probably would be just, horrified,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
I mean, last year we did
Last
that, and then
year, you'd wanna
broke
slit
my
your
arm, and
wrists
then
if
there
you
was
knew
the,
what was going to go on.
the COVID and all the awfulness with that, and then my brother's death, a week or so ago, and there's all these
Your mum
different
going into
things. My mother's
hospital.
gone into an aged care home, and she's very upset because my brother has died, and as she would be, and all of that stuff, and that's just a little bit of it. There was other things that happened too, but that'll do.
That's enough.
Yeah, there's some other awful things that happened, but that's enough. So, and we're in a better part of the sort of the world, aren't we, Dee Dee?
Yeah,
Than if you were in if you were Palestinian or something, it'd be it's a nightmare every year. That kind of thing, or in Yemen, or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
All of the
David
places that are
said,
victims of U.S. imperialism.
"What's that?"
All of the places.
Oh,
that
hi,
are
Adam.
victims of-
Happy New Year.
Happy
Yes,
New
the
Year's,
victims
Adam.
of U.S. imperialism.
And economic imperialism. I mean, people forget that economic imperialism can be just as devastating
Hell yeah.
as
It's all it's
war.
all together, isn't it? Though, like capitalism is inextricably linked with
Well,
imperialism.
most of the wars, I mean, the U.S. does wars for its own control of oil and so on.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the wars it conducts are for corporations and their control
Sure.
of oil and things.
Hang on a sec. I just want to read out something here. David says,
Close by.
what's that?
Oh, nothing. I'm just looking at.
As Octavia Butler said, quote, "The more heat and dust and thirst and stench and misery and fire."
Yeah.
End quote. Wow. And Jen said, "Yes, I'm following too closely. Everyone gonna be broke, homeless, and hungry in 2021. I hope not." And David said, "Love to you and your family, Trish and Dee Dee. Thanks very much." And yes, sanctions are economic imperialism, Holly said.
Well, I was thinking of just the way corporations, they force corporations, or corporations come in and take over the resources and and totally dominate the economies, and they'll just basically mine resources, take them out of the country for their own profit, but they give nothing back.
Yeah.
And usually sell them to themselves for so little money that that you can say, "Oh, well, we're selling it for a loss, so we don't have to pay tax."
Yeah. I just want to ask Adam, what how's your day been, Adam? And by the way, it's Holly's birthday today. So David says, "I'm scared of New Year's for lithium to fuel our new, quote, sustainable, end quote, fleets of electric cars." Yes, really.
Yeah.
Isn't there something that, other than lithium, that could do that? Wouldn't that be, I mean, do you know what I mean? Because, like, Bolivia, like, is got a lot of lithium, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So they're never going to let up on
Yeah.
Bolivia,
No.
if that's the case.
And there's a lot of places that have lithium in it now.
Not
those
that
are
they'll
all
ever let
vulnerable.
up on Bolivia just because it's Bolivia, and
Yeah.
it has a movement towards socialism. That's enough.
Yeah. Can't
So
allow
Adam
that
said,
to happen.
"No, can't have that. That's verboten." So Adam said, "So far so good. Happy birthday, Holly." Right.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, so many of these things, I mean, the lithium batteries and so on, are actually can be fairly efficient and lightweight and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But, as soon as you start doing it on any kind of scale,
Yes.
it's just like those little, the guy who invented those stupid pods for coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Didi.
I mean, he said he felt suicidal.
Yes. Did you hear that? The guy who invented those little pods for coffee, he had no idea what he did until after he did it.
He said when he saw
The
all
pollution.
of the waste and the pollution in the ocean and so on,
Yeah,
he
really.
felt suicidal.
Yes, really. And have they sort of done anything to address that? And by the way, Didi,
yes, some things.
those little lithium batteries that are put in hearing aids and all that sort of thing. is there any way they can extract anything from
Recycle
that?
them.
Yeah, recycle.
Well, you'd think so, but it's probably just too dispersed, and they're too small a source.
So it's like a finite resource
yeah.
that's going to end up be the undoing of Bolivia, basically. You know what I mean? Unless they
Yeah.
find some asteroid they can go and mine for lithium. But you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you can't recycle it, Didi,
Yeah.
are you are you trying to read that? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. If you can't recycle it, then at some point, like, we're really stuffed.
Yeah. I think I did the wrong thing.
Anyway.
Yeah, you can't recycle it. I mean,
more insanity.
honestly, there should be what?
More insanity.
More insanity.
It just gets more like Didi. We were talking about how there are wetlands around. Is it Tasmania?
Yeah.
Where they're draining these wetlands to, to do things on the land, and that is badly affecting the
trees, the forests.
trees, the forest, because they're
evolved
yeah.
to deal with a lot more water.
Yes, and so that also increases the likelihood of more fires.
Yeah.
And I just sort of think, yes, just one more shit show
But
to add to the rest of the
trees are not
shit
as
show.
healthy, and it means that they're more vulnerable to the fires and so on.
Yeah. And Jen says, civilization is a heat engine, doesn't matter how we power
doesn't
it.
matter how
Yeah.
we power it.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much
Yeah.
true. I mean, I think some things do matter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing solar and so on, but even that, I mean, you're using resources.
Yeah.
And
I'm afraid the Earth is going to force everybody to actually simplify. If we don't simplify, it's going to do it for us, basically.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It really has to actually. We have to actually roll things back,
yeah.
and people aren't going to voluntarily do that. So it's going to be done for them, really, isn't it, Didi?
yeah.
It's like people don't want to voluntarily go vegan, and that's going to be done for them because eventually animal agriculture isn't going to be sustainable for not only the climate crisis, it's a major contributor, but also it won't feed the planet. And I'm not even talking about the violence, the tremendous violence and how it's all unnecessary, but all those things, we're going to end up having to end animal agriculture. It's going to be let go or be dragged kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and grab a piece of cake. Do you want some?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll have a small piece. I've already had a piece. Didi can mine for lithium on an asteroid. Yes, that's the one. I'm not sure our asteroids have any lithium. I mean, I think that's the idea, but then you have corporations and you're going to have people being sucked into working in space, and that can all be awful too. Working in the asteroid fields as asteroid miners.
Jan, were you here the other day when I talked about the asteroid they found that's $74 quadrillion worth of minerals?
Yeah. Yahoo. Oh, good, I found another portal.
Something interesting happened to me a while ago when we very rarely ever buy lotto tickets or anything, but there was this massive lotto in the US, and it was a billion with a B, dollars up for grabs. And so we decided to take a few tickets in it, and not that I thought I had any chance really of winning, but you never know. Sometimes these things happen. And then I started getting very anxious about the thought, but what if I won? Because that kind of money, you then become a target. You become a target of kidnappers, or suddenly, I don't know, there's just so many things that can happen with that kind of money. And of course, we'd want to do a whole bunch of good stuff with it, but still, you'd still be a target for, you know what I mean? Because they don't know that, and they think you haven't, you know what I mean? And in America, they actually tell people who's won. I don't think you have any say in being anonymous, do you?
I don't think so.
So I kind of really freaked out at the thought of winning. It was really weird. And I thought to myself, I'm never ever going to buy another ticket with that kind of amount of money again.
Oh, no.
No, really. That's very freaky, Didi. I mean, you could do fantastic things for people.
Yeah.
But
I mean, honestly...
But the lack of anonymity would be very frightening.
There's very, very little we would want personally except to finish the house. That would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, though, that you become when people know that you've won. I'm talking about nut jobs. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
And then you might become a target of a kidnapping or something. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Suddenly your privacy is gone, and that's what I found frightening about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there is no anonymity with it. It'd be great if you won and you could be... Well, actually, it'd be even scary then, but it'd be great if you won and then you could do all these things for people. Right? But, and you could do it without saying that it's you. Do you know what I mean? You could do it through some lawyers or something, you know what I mean? So people didn't know who you were.
Yes. I got a letter like that the other day. Somebody wanted to give me $5 million to donate to good people. They saw my name on the internet.
If only.
Yeah.
Anyway. But anyhow, the chances of me winning. But some people, they'll take one ticket and they win a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
And then you hear about people who destroy their lives when they win money. Not that I think we do that, because we really don't want anything, really, do we, Didi?
Well, I'd like
Except
to
to
have
finish
the
the
house
house.
so that the council doesn't hassle us.
Yeah, finishing the house would be good.
And that would be about it, really.
And then we could kind of buy things for people. Like, I'd love to buy a little, sort of like houses for people that are renting. You know what I mean? That would be so great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you could do that?
Yeah.
That'd be so great. I hope I'm not making too much noise with the eating, so I'm sorry if I am. Hi, Alex. How are you? Happy New Year. I'm just carrying on about the impossibility of me ever winning $1 billion. But
And the drama and problem of winning $1 billion. Yeah. Yeah.
And Dee Dee said somebody wrote to her the other day, as usual, wanting to give her money.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that's just, we're obviously just playing with the scam things that you get.
One of those scam things. We always have to laugh. They've gotten more sophisticated now. They used to be...
Dear sir or madam,
Dear sir,
my husband has died, and he was an African manager, and he's got millions and millions of dollars, and I'd like to give you $5 million if you help me get it out of the country. And I think, Jesus, God in heaven, you're talking about some corrupted bastard who's cheated some poor African country out of millions of dollars. Yeah.
But they'll...
I think, of course,
Yeah, dear sir, madam, and then I trust in you.
I trust in you. I found your name on the internet, and you're a wonderful person. God has led me to you.
You're non-binary, and I didn't know what to call you.
They never say that.
Yeah, so that's funny. So you get... I haven't had one of those letters for a long time. I don't know why.
Oh, I've got.
But they used to do that in Jesus
the Bill
and Christ
Gates
the Lord.
Foundation, or
Did he? They do the dear sir, madam, in Jesus Christ the Lord, and they'd use all this really flowery language, and you'd think, God, you're going to have to get better at that.
Yeah. Somebody said it was actually an intentional thing. Anybody who's so stupid that they think that this is real is liable to be this. It'll eliminate all those people who are smart enough to see that this is bullshit, and leaves the people who aren't smart enough to see that it's bullshit, and they're the ones likely to actually get caught up in these.
Yeah, but I hate the idea of anybody getting caught up in that.
Oh, of course.
There are people over in here in Australia who get caught up in some scams and stuff.
Yeah.
They're getting sophisticated here. Like there'll be there's people that ring up pretending to be the telephone company, and wanting you to check on through your computer different things, and what they're doing is trying to get access to your computer, basically, aren't they, Diddy?
Yeah.
And they seem to be in some way hooked into what the actual telephone company is doing here, because one time they did it when we were actually awaiting a call from the telephone company about a problem we were having with online, wasn't it, or was it just a phone problem? And so in that week that we were actually waiting for the telephone company to call us, these scammers called us that week. So I feel like there's a few people, there were plants in that actual organization who are sort of getting information about different customers and then sort of giving it to the scammers to follow up. So that's kind of disturbing. And the company here, Telstra, who's a monopoly, almost, isn't it? Almost.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to care. It's amazing. So I don't know.
No, I'm going to try and go through this Stargate.
Oh, so Jan said over 80 years old are the ones being scammed. Yeah, see, that's just awful. And I could easily see how they could be scammed. They've been trying to scam my mother when she was living at home.
Yeah.
They kept ringing her up often, didn't they, Didi?
Yeah.
So that was really bad. So how are you, Alex? What have you been doing today? What's happening with the screen? With the screen, Didi? Are you trying to give somebody a seizure?
Yeah. What's that?
What are we doing?
We
with
are
the screen?
Gone through a Stargate.
Oh, okay.
And I'm wondering where I'll end up. I just put in an address.
Oh, okay.
And I have no idea where I will be. a strange little system here.
Yeah. I didn't even know how Alex was saying over 80s are easily scammed because the world is changing so rapidly. I didn't even know how over 80s actually get on with like a lot of stuff is being done now. They sort of refuse to send out paper mail things to people, and they're going to charge them more if they have to do that. And I didn't even know how people over 80s are sort of dealing with that.
Yeah.
Alex said not much, actually got up not too long ago, haha. So I hope you're last time we talked to you, you were a little drunk and popping some pills, I think. Anyway, so tech support scams, yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, tech support scams are disgusting. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that.
But I actually wonder if the Telstra is sort of in on that in some way. You know?
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine. I mean, I think they sell these phone numbers. I don't think that... I mean, if their security is so bad that all these companies can just... a lot of them are in India, or at least hire a lot of Indians. And if they can do that, and just have like some number in India where, and I asked somebody how they got the number and how they were able to hook in and appear to be calling from Melbourne.
Right.
And they said, well, there's this number or this website that you can go and apparently when you're in India, get a number in Melbourne that you can call from. And that's just kind of crazy.
Oh no, we'll be missing Justin Bieber's midnight concert, Dee Dee.
What?
We'll be missing Justin
How do you know
Bieber's.
this? Why are you looking at other things?
Poor old Justin Bieber, he's gone really, really Hillsong Christian. Do they still use that born again thing, or is there something else now? Diddy, the born again thing.
I don't know, darling. I have no idea. I don't know much about Justin Bieber at all.
No, I'm not talking about Justin Bieber now. I'm just saying, do they still use the born again thing?
Yeah, I don't know if they ever did they? I'm not sure. I haven't taken any huge interest in the evangelicals except to know that they're horrible and evil and homophobic, and they seem to be, dedicating a lot of energy to making people's lives miserable. And
as Jesus would have had it.
Yeah.
Jesus said, scourge the meek of the earth, make their life miserable.
That's right. Jesus wasn't fond of poor people.
And Holly said, did they show fireworks over Sydney Harbour? Did he?
I don't know. I didn't
think
look.
So. I don't know. Actually, that's a good question.
I think they didn't. I think they didn't want anybody going out. And I think having higher fireworks would have definitely brought people out. And so I can't imagine that they would have done it.
I haven't actually looked at the COVID numbers for today, because they were slowly rising. There was some ones in Victoria and there was slowly rising numbers in New South Wales. But they've really put in a lot of effort to try and hit it on the head. So, Alex said, even used a random number generator that would harass businesses and people in hiding from violent partners. Even use a...
What's this?
I don't know. Even used a random number generator that would harass businesses and people in hiding from violent partners.
I worked in a charity call center, and even the way they legally acquired data was
insane. Oh,
insane.
sorry, yeah. Oh no. As a charity, we could ignore the do not call register, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, using a random number generator, so they're calling everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just disgusting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up working in a, for a very short period of time, thankfully, in a place that was doing, what do you call it, market research. And we had to call people up in the middle of the night.
Oh, hi, Kim. Kim's here, did he?
And harass them. Hi, Kim.
Yes.
How are you?
How are you, Kim? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You can tell we're not all big partiers, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alex, I've forgotten where you're from, like what country. It's not Australia, is it? And Ginny says, oh, and it's Holly's birthday, by the way, today.
Yeah.
And Sydney, Ginny said, Sydney fireworks did go ahead. My cousin watched it on TV in England. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Were there many people there?
Well, they were banning people from all those the shoreline parks.
And Kim says, recovering from hours of shoveling. Thank you. Oh, okay. Wow, hours of shoveling. That's right. Yeah, you're in Australia. I thought so.
What are you shoveling?
Yeah, that'd be hard, Yaka. I wonder how many people die of heart attacks shoveling snow in the US, Dee Dee, every year.
I don't know.
God, I've got a happy mind, don't I? I wonder how many people died shoveling snow.
Yeah. Snow shoveling, yay! Another source of death and destruction.
Oh, there's about 100 people every year die shoveling snow. Oh dear. Oh, the US nationwide children's hospital recorded 1,647 fatalities from cardiac-related injuries associated with shoveling snow. Yeah, because that'd be really hard work, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get in my little spaceship and fly off and see where the hell I've gotten to.
Unfortunately, we don't really get snow here, do we, Dee Dee? And
very rarely.
We get some snow on.
We've had once or twice. We get some. Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't really. Sadly, we don't get it. I love snow.
Yeah. Well, here I am. The galactic core is 703,000 light years away.
Good God. He's actually charging money for a virtual concert. Seriously? You know?
Yeah.
Don't these people have enough fucking money? Seriously. 38 Australian dollars to watch him on my,
On a computer.
on the computer.
On a screen.
I mean, really and fucking truly. Hasn't he got like about $500 million, Justin Bieber or something? Jesus, I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. So... Oh, okay, New South Wales Central Coast. Oh, okay. New South Wales Central Coast.
Yeah.
That's not like Lismore or something like that, is it?
No, that's Newcastle and
Oh,
maybe
okay.
further north.
Oh, okay.
I think that would be that.
Anyhow, we're
Yeah, I
having...
used to love the Sydney fireworks, I have to say.
Yeah. Aren't they great?
Yeah.
Um,
They do it all down the river, you know. They had some by the bridge and some down in Parramatta. And
the only problem
some-
is, though, Didi, is that it scares the bejesus out of dogs and cats and other animals. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
But it never used to occur to me, actually, when we used to have fireworks on the 4th of July here in Australia, and we'd have big bonfires and stuff, and it never occurred to me because it never occurred to me with dogs and cats, because, well, we didn't have a dog or a cat at the time
Yeah.
when we were younger. And then Alex says, apparently I actually live very close to Oz Whistles from Mame Chat. Ah.
Oh. Oh my.
Don't, Didi. Don't,
Yeah,
Didi.
Be careful.
Didi.
Yeah.
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 Yes, just, all we can say with that is just be careful.
Yeah.
And if you want to know why, you can
You can
contact
write.
me.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeffrey. How are you? Hello. Hi, Rooney. Hey, Rooney. Hey. How are you, Jeffrey? What's been
Yeah.
happening?
What is Kim saying? Many. It's a risky workout, high cardio. Oh, many people dying of snow shoveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm behind for some reason on the chat. You seem to get the chat quicker than I do for some reason.
Yeah, sometimes it's like
And
that.
I don't understand why, because I'm the one.
Because I'm more in the future than you are?
Yeah, but you shouldn't be, because this is where the chat is originating
But
from.
maybe
and
there's a different dimension between
maybe
where
there
you
is.
sit, where
Maybe
you sit
there is.
and
It's
where I
from
sit.
going through these stargates so often and transporters. Hello, you. I've got a little caddy coming.
So
in.
anyway, happy New Year, Jeffrey. I hope this coming year is so much better for you and everybody else, and something,
And everybody,
some really
really, I
good
mean,
things happen.
The year's been kind of hideous for a lot of people. Let's put some windows in this. Oh, no, get out of my face.
What's that?
A room is in my face.
Rooney's trying to stick his bottom in Didi's face. Rooney, our little tuxedo cat.
Yeah.
They sometimes think they're transparent in front of monitors, as cats like to do, and
Actually,
so
I don't
he's
think
doing
he thinks
a
he's
back and
transparent.
forth.
I think he's quite insistent that he's going to be in my face. And
yeah, Kim says you're hurtling through space, Didi, and it messes with time.
yeah.
Yeah. And Rooney's sort of he can be very polite, and then sometimes he's just not polite at all. And he's into trampling. So anyway, the scar on my wrist is almost healed up nicely now, so that's really nice.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to the Stargate.
That's some trivia. So, let's see. Alex, Jeffrey says, is looking better. I'm getting involved in a community project here, building tiny homes for the homeless. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
That's really great. Really great.
Yeah.
Good on you, Jeffrey.
Yeah. That's excellent. I mean, I have some issues with the whole tiny homes, little places where they concentrate a lot of poor people in tiny little boxes, basically.
Yeah.
But God, it's better than sleeping under an
Hell
underpass.
Yes. Hell yes, yeah.
So.
And Alex,
I think they need to build more community shelters or community homes where there are places to dwell, but there are like ablution blocks and main cooking halls and like an arts and crafts center and a workshop area and things like that, where people could do a lot of things and there's some sense of community.
Yeah. Well, I'd hope they'd be doing something like that. Are they doing anything like that, Jeffrey, where they're sort of making it more like a community thing rather than... And Alex said, I do believe this year will be better, if only because we're better prepared for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
I think I'll just put a beacon here.
So, Alex, why do you think that a lot of people... I'm not saying the Labour Party's any good, but why do you think a lot of people voted for Scott Morrison and that party? Because I think it was Scott Morrison as a person rather than the actual party, don't you think, that people were voting for, Didi?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Because I don't know. I just want to slap him when I see him, Didi.
Yeah, he's horrible.
He's such a smug. He's got this smirk on his face all the time, no matter what the hell's going on. There's just something incredibly annoying about him and disingenuous and...
disgusting.
People call him Scotty from marketing because he had a marketing background, and I don't know, I just think he thinks he's really, really clever, and all he has to do is throw around some Australiana slogans and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jeffrey said, yes, the emphasis is on community. The people involved are grassroots with a proven track record. I hope it to be a positive influence. So that's great. That's excellent. Wow, that cake really has a lot of rum in it, doesn't it, Didi? Yeah, doesn't it?
It does. It has
does,
rum
yes.
and brandy.
Yes.
It has a lot of rum and brandy.
Yeah, it does. Yes. I'm looking for the cake in my taste buds. It's more like rum and brandy.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Oh my. I've got a broken freighter in front of me. Oh, where does it go?
Oh, look at this picture of Manar. Isn't she sweet? Manar Muhuesh Adley.
Oh, yeah.
So Manar from Mint Press News, she says, 2020 taught me that I'm the author of my own story, creator of my reality, and owner of my happiness. I was reminded to stop and smell the roses and shower myself with love, grace, and lots of flowers. While 2020 was challenging, it is through these hardships that we continue to grow and learn the true essence of life. Quote, the sharp thorn often produces delicate roses, end quote. Happy New Year. she's such a wonderful person.
She is. She is. This is Minar from Mint Press News. Anybody who doesn't know who she is?
Yeah, if you haven't sort of come across Minar Muhawesh Adley, anyway, that's her Instagram thing, and she's really wonderful. So anyway, Alex said, personally, I think it was the politics of fear. Their whole campaign was predicted on how Labor might tank the economy. Can't get my head around how ScoMo was liked more than Bill either.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you know what I notice is an interesting phenomena with these, major parties is that it's always the Conservative Party that when they want to do something, they don't care how unpopular it is. They don't really think about anything. They just go ahead and just ram it through, don't they, Dee Dee?
Yeah.
Like they do it the Republicans do it in the U.S. The coalition just do it here, and they don't give a shit, do they, Dee Dee?
No, not at all.
Who likes it? Who doesn't like it? Whereas these, the Labor Party and the Democratic Party are all sort of like, even though of course the Democratic Party is working in tandem with the GOP, but they always there's things that they could ram through and do on executive order, but they choose not to, and we all know why that is. But it's that's the difference I find with these parties. Like the Labor Party is just sort of namby-pambing around. There's things they could do, and they choose not to. They want to move more and more to the right. So instead of being an actual alternative, they end up being a very bad version of the coalition, don't they, Dee Dee?
Well, actually, a more progressive version of the coalition.
Yeah.
It's that thing of the difference between the major parties in these countries is the difference between the neo-libs and the neo-cons.
Yeah.
And both of them are neo means that they're completely into the free market capitalist system. And that generally includes
economic
austerity.
what did you call it?
Fundamentalism. Economic fundamentalism.
Yeah.
And the difference between the con and the lib is some of them are okay with gay people being exploited like everybody else, and some of them just want to hate on gay people.
Yeah,
and want to stop abortion and re-enslave women and do all those wonderful things.
Yeah. Yes, Rupert Murdoch has a lot to do with Australian politics. A lot to do with who gets in. I think that Labor believes, Alex said, I think that Labor believes it was Morrison that won too, in that they ditched Shorten for Albanese as bland as ScoMo. I don't know, I feel like Shorten was in some ways
more bland than...
Yeah, he was more kind of mealy-mouthed in some ways than Albanese.
Albanese used to be better.
Albanese used to be better. But I mean, like, just the fact... just how they won't even raise the what is it called, Job Seeker, or it used to be called New Start. They won't even commit to even raising it permanently to at least the pension, which is below poverty level.
And I hate the way they bloody keep changing the names of these things.
Yes, they keep changing the name because heaven forbid you need
New
hashtags.
Start. Well, you're not starting anything. It's job keeper or seeker.
Job seeker. And so the Labor Party, a good indication of how pathetic they are is they won't even commit to, they won't even sort of give a number on what they think that the seeker thing should be.
Yeah.
Unemployment. And it should be
Let's just call it unemployment, because that's what it is.
Yes, exactly. And it should be at least what the the pension is. It should be at least that, but it's not.
They haven't increased unemployment here for 25 years.
No, it's absolutely disgusting.
At this point, it's way below the poverty line.
Yeah.
They have increased the pensions, thank goodness. in line with increases in the consumer price index. But, God, there's hardly any way that people on unemployment can live. I don't know how they expect people to do well and get a job and all that sort of stuff if they can't afford anything. What? Fill up the private prisoners. Well, yeah, they put Serco in charge of the welfare here. And Serco are the people who do the private prisons and do the migrant detention centers, which are just horrible concentration camps. Yeah. Okay, go find these people. Unknown planet looks a little bit blue. I'm going there. Jeffrey says Serco Board UK has Tory members. Yeah, I think the Serco probably has. They certainly have links to the coalition here. David says tired of living under the boots of these neocons and neolibs. Absolutely. Yeah. David. Alex has had a big argument with my friend who thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist too far down the rabbit hole about Whitney Webb and the Mint Press last night. I gave him kudos for at least reading her article. Yeah, I don't know. We have friends who we visited, and I think they think we're complete nut jobs because we started talking about imperialism and all of that sort of thing. Didn't we, Trish? When we went and visited, what's their names? And had dinner over there.
Dinner over where?
My memory is.
But
is
what are we
shot.
talking about, though? I'm not sure.
About talking about, imperialism and that kind of stuff, and having people think that you're kind of crazy.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. We went to visit someone, had dinner at their place, and
God,
we were
what's
just
her
talking
name?
about the kind of things we talk about here, and I think they actually thought we were tinfoil hatters, and
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be getting any invitations
Yeah.
back
they're not
to
gonna
that.
wanna have us
That's the
back.
problem when you're actually talking about stuff that's real now. People are so propagandized that they think that you're complete conspiracy theorist nutters,
But
and that's really
wasn't
awful.
it lovely when we went and
really awful,
talked
isn't it?
to Elle, and we have this
Oh yes,
other friend.
we have this other friend
we went
who
and talked to her.
has a clue.
She was completely on the same page. It was nice because she's kind of much younger, and
Yeah, she's much younger, which is
but
really
I mean, she
nice.
spent time in Peru and different places like that. Wasn't it Peru or was it Brazil?
I can't, I don't know. Peru, Brazil, I don't know.
It's 103 degrees below zero here.
Hang on,
so
I'm falling
gonna
behind.
go
Just
jump in
reading
the water.
some stuff. Oh, Ginny said, yes, indeed, Trish. Slap, slap, slap the smug Morrison face. I know that's terrible that I
Yeah.
feel that way, Ginny, but I do. When I see him, I just think, God, he's awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Jeffrey said, we'll keep you informed as I find out more. In the least, I will get 6 months employment. Oh, that's really great, Jeffrey.
That'd be really good.
Yeah, do. Alex said, whoops. Alex said, had a big argument with my friend who thinks... I've read that one out. Argument that my friend who thinks I'm a conspiracy theorist too far down the rabbit hole with Whitney Webb and then Mint Press last night. I give him kudos for at least reading her article. Yeah.
Yeah.
David said, tired of living under the boots, yeah. Alex said, somehow he came across the smear that Whitney is a Trump supporter. Yeah, that's interesting. And then Alex said, the dole is so low, people fear unemployment and stay in crappy jobs, talking from experience.
Yeah,
that's perfect too, isn't it? Then you're not going to push back on anything.
Well, that's why they have high unemployment, and they've said as much, that the ideal unemployment rate is somewhere around over 6 or 7%.
Yeah, and then people will take whatever crappy jobs they can because they're...
otherwise they're job snobs, as Tony Abbott used to say.
I remember, there were times where I was looking for work and... when I wasn't able to do nursing, and because I had some, I had a back injury at one point or whatever, or just wanted to do something different, it's almost impossible to get even sort of just everyday, things like you'd apply for some kitchen job thing, and of course there'll always be people way younger than you, and there's dozens of people all going for these jobs. Now there's nothing wrong with the kitchen job, but it's it just sort of, it's basically there's so many people going for any job. You've got Buckley's, really, haven't you?
Yeah.
I still don't know where that saying comes from, Buckley's. Do you? I hope it's some sort of racist thing, hopefully. Hopefully not. So anyway, let's see. And then... hang on a second.
The whole thing, for those people from North America, when you say you've got Buckley's, it's a shorthand version of saying you've got Buckley's chance.
Yeah. Adam says, they're offering the vaccine at my hospital and I'm going to wait and see. I'm skeptical, LOL. Not because I think that the science is sketchy, but because I know too much about capitalism and big pharma. Yes, that's right. And it's sort of, I don't know, it's kind of a bit of a rushed out thing as well, and that's always a worry. I encourage... Adam said, I encourage everyone to visit the Empire Files vid where Abby talks to that guy about the opioid crisis in West Virginia. Yeah. I haven't seen that one yet.
Encourage everybody to go visit the Empire Files anyway if you haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's just wonderful.
Yeah, it really is. But I read about the opioid crisis in Chris Hedges' book, which I still haven't finished because it got so heavy. It was at a time that I was feeling very anxious, and it just kind of, it was just so grueling getting through those stories about people and how they're affected by the austerity and stuff. Just horror stories that I can't get out of my mind now.
Yeah.
So let's see. And there was one story, there's a couple of stories actually of people ending up getting into opioids. It was just sort of, just so tragic.
Yeah.
And there was a thing too where dealers, of dealers would actually put, because I think it's prescription opioids are cheaper than... Or is it? No, heroin is cheaper than prescription opioids, so people would end up on heroin, and then some dealers would put some fentanyl in the batch of the different, not in a whole pile of, not in the whole total of the heroin in the batch, but in just certain little things. I don't know whether people use them in little bags, yeah. And if people heard of somebody overdosing, they'd think, oh, that must be really, really good stuff. And so the dealer would make more money because people would then start going to them more often. So they'd actually every so often put fentanyl in someone's batch so that they would overdose, and then they'd actually end up making more money. That's the kind of things I read in in that the American America the Farewell Tour by Chris Hedges, and it was just, just awful.
Yeah.
But just some of the stories of people starting off, with pain and ending up getting, addicted on, oxycodone or whatever, or Vicodin or whatever, oxycodone I think it is, and then it just went downhill from there. Yeah, that's really sick. It is sick, and it's really sad. And that's and then what does Adam say? Adam said, but people think I'm a conspiracy theorist and lump me into the anti-vax crew. Someone literally sent me a vid explaining how there wasn't a chip in the vaccine. Like, no shit, I was offended. Jesus.
Yeah.
It's funny, about 3 years ago, I had a look at Vaxxed on the Road, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer, by the way. I'm for safe, effective vaccines. It would be much better, of course, if they weren't testing on animals, but that's because they can, because animals are viewed as property in our law and stuff, so that there's no incentive for scientists to find other means.
Animals don't have exactly the same reactions as we do, and there's actually ways you can test it on cells from tissue culture and so on without.
Yeah. But there's no need to. Because they just kind of think, well, we can do this, so why do we bother finding any other way? Because animals, they can use gazillions of rats, they don't even have to count them, and mice. But anyway, just so putting that aside, I'm fine with, if they're safe and reliable vaccines. But I mentioned this, that unfortunately the adjuvants that are used in vaccines are probably, this is something that's been discussed by Vaxxed on the Road, which I haven't been watching for a while, but they had some different parents who had children who immediately after they had their triple antigen shots or whatever, and they give a lot of vaccines to young children in the United States.
Yeah.
Way more than we do.
Yeah.
And the adjuvants, I think, when you give 3 different vaccines all at once or whatever it is, those adjuvants which are kind of toxic, they make them toxic so that it supposedly makes the vaccine, the response to it, more effective. But they actually, they've put in stuff that I think is really affecting some children really badly. Well, I mentioned this in a podcast once, and I posted that podcast. It was about that sort of thing, and I posted that podcast on my Twitter thing, it's just called Vegan Trove is the username, and that was for the podcast I had, which was called Vegan Trove. It's different from Faint Signals from Vega, and they actually basically shadow banned my Twitter thing for my Twitter site for it must have been a year and a half. Did he?
Yeah.
It was sort of like, oh, and then I had people who were following my podcast immediately, I think thought I was an anti-vaxxer, or one of these real. And
Trish
you can't even talk about it now. No,
she's not an anti-vax.
No, I'm not.
But as somebody who is actually a medical professional, she had questions about the number of
children
vaccines that were being given at
the same
ages,
time. Yeah, and at the same time,
with very little pause in between them.
Yeah.
That there's been it gives very little chance for the body to adjust.
Yes.
And
I don't know, you can't say that every single parent that goes on that site, Vaxxed on the Road, is just lying through their teeth. I mean, you really can't. And some of the stories are really horrific. So either all those parents are lying, or there's something wrong with some of the ways and the amounts of vaccine they're giving at one time, and the adjuvants they're putting into them that accelerate supposedly the response. And that's quite possible, but you're not even allowed to talk about that now.
Yeah.
And that's got, I'm sure, Big Pharma gives more money to
doctors.
But they give more money to Congress, twice as much as any other, including the oil industry, right?
Yeah.
So there is there is a great pressure that you're not even allowed to question you get, and people are so, it's almost like now it's almost in the same, it's like you're a complete tinfoil hatter now if you even question anything about it. I mean, people have got this knee-jerk response now, and it works because, like, you just sort of think, Jesus, should I say anything about that? And you really think about it before you say anything, because honestly, some people's heads explode. I mean, where have we got where you can't mention Proud Boys on your YouTube channel because the YouTube will take it down, and you're not allowed to even talk about the possibility that maybe they're giving children too many vaccines in one go with a toxic adjuvant that actually causes some problems. I mean, what, some children's lives have been completely ruined, and parents, possibly from, and I'm not saying it's definitely the cause, but possibly from what I've just said. So it just sort of like, I just find, and I just sort of think, how much is Big Pharma? They've got sort of so many hooks into so much that the minute anybody, even kind of any site or any person, if they're being rational, and they're not saying all vaccines are evil and you must not touch them, you know what I mean? Even, like,
if you're saying
vaccines
are great,
but can be important.
Want to wait for a couple of months before, instead of giving it to a
spread
newborn,
them out
and
look at some of the adjuvants that they're putting in there. Like, sometimes there's been talk about that they actually put peanut oil in adjuvants in some vaccines, and then of course you find there are people, it's possible that it's linked to those peanut allergies, that kind of thing, right, Didi?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I just find it, where are we going where now everybody's head explodes when you even question something like that, even though there is, unless all those parents on Vaxxed on the Road are lying about the response their children had almost immediately to being vaccinated with numerous vaccines
some of them,
at the same
had really
time.
Healthy children.
Yeah, their children were fine, and then they weren't. Not only weren't they fine, they were really, really in bad shape, really bad shape, and they didn't bounce back from it. So anyway, that's my rant on it. I got really punished on my Twitter channel. My Twitter thing account, and I'm sure that people followed me not only on there but also on my podcast, because God forbid, heaven forbid, you should say anything at all. Like, it's like people, how, like, it's like now whistleblowers now, I'm not saying this is the equivalent, but whistleblowers now are very afraid, according to, and he didn't really give much, but according to Max Blumenthal, it's the whole Julian Assange thing and the Chelsea Manning and their persecution ongoing has really, really put a major a major wet blanket on anybody coming forward to do any whistleblowing. And why wouldn't it? And that's what, kind of really punishing people by just dumping on them. I'm not drawing equivalence to, what I'm just talking about before, but I mean, it really makes you think twice before you say anything. It's made me think twice about saying anything, because, like, people, you get punished by the herd as well as these big pharma fuckers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what I think about that. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that rapper, MF Doom. I'm so behind on popular culture now, it's just sad. So anyway, so Alex said, I used to mess around with street Xanax a lot. The strength, etc. would vary a lot, and I have no doubt that they were occasionally cutting it with fentanyl. Oh, wow. Adam, so sad, and they'll never held liable or punished for their actions. So yeah, I think I'm a hold off on this vaccine.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey said the hip hop artist or the commenter on social media. I think it's the hip hop artist, the one that's 49 years old. They didn't say what he died of. I'm wondering if it might be suicide or something.
Did you give me another piece of cake?
No, I gave just that one piece of cake, did he?
Oh, you did give me a piece.
I did, yeah. Oh, no. She doesn't even know she's eating her cake.
I ate it. No, I didn't.
What's that? Oh. And
no.
I didn't know who is. I don't know who Jeff C is. And Adam said, "Yep, 100%." Meanwhile, the Epoch Times COVID-19 pseudoscience documentary, starring Judy Milkovitz, is still up and has tons of views. You know, I haven't seen that one. Is that the Plandemic thing? And Epoch Times is like just such a like a tinfoil hat, a anti-China propaganda promoting Falun Gong cultist thing. Yeah, so that it says it all, doesn't it, Adam? And then Jeffrey said, CF swine flu fax debacle, Epoch's Time, Uber, Sino bashes, yep. Anyway. So it's very powerful stuff, vilifying issues or people who are talking about issues. It sort of works. I mean, and you know that when people, particularly when it's ad hominem attacks, you know, if they're not addressing the content, you know they really don't have any argument, like this Force the Vote with Jimmy Dore. You know, like Cenk Uygur today dumping on Jimmy Dore, sort of saying he needs psychological help. Well, you know, I think he's even admitted that he has a anger problem and that he's been trying to work on that. And I think he does at times have an anger problem. There's a difference between getting angry at a thing and raging at somebody and getting kind of abusive. And I think there's a very thin line with him where sometimes it goes into a sort of can be seen as abusive. And I think he's probably somewhat aware of that, and I think his wife may be. Well, hopefully. But anyway, putting that aside, the Cenk Uygur, the fact that he's focusing on Jimmy Dore and saying he needs psychological help, and that and completely ignoring the Force the Vote thing with Medicare for All, just says everything about him. He and his CIA, the people in his Namiki Konts. By the way, if you haven't seen Breaking the Headline, Behind the Headlines, sorry, and see Dan Cohen's latest on a couple of those people in the Young Turks, it's really fascinating actually how much like they've actually been pushing CIA talking points and hanging out and being chummy with Madeleine Albright and all that kind of thing. Let me see if I can find the actual video, because it's really good. They've done a couple of really good videos so far now. And apparently Behind the Headlines is associated with Mint Press News. I don't know how they kind of work that out, but hang on. What time is it now in the United States, Dee Dee? I'll have to have a look. New York time now. Oh no, we've actually passed it already. We've already passed the midnight. Well, if you're in the East Coast, in New York City. So if if you're in the East Coast, we missed out on saying Happy New Year's to you. I was too busy talking about vaccines. So Happy New Year's to anybody
anybody on the Eastern Standard Time,
and anybody on the East Coast in Canada on that side too. Happy New Year's. Adam thinks Dan Cohen's very cute. Yeah, he is cute, isn't he? Let's see. I'll have to see if I can find it. When I search for Dan Cohen, I can find it. Oh, see, this is the thing. I actually subscribe to Behind the Headlines, and I've been unsubscribed from that. Isn't that disgusting, Dee Dee?
Yeah, it is.
I subscribed to that already, and I go back, and now I'm unsubscribed.
Yeah.
Anyway. So anyway, here's this video. So check it out because it's really well done, and it makes you see what I wish I could find another word for shit show, but seriously, that's what it is at the Young Turks. And I don't really understand why people keep giving these people
Promoting it
money.
at all.
Like, why do they keep demonstrating that they're just like they've been Russiagators? Can somebody explain to me why people keep referring to the Young Turks all the time, even though they know that they're completely, it's just like MSNBC? Like, why do people keep, like, why don't they just ignore them like they do MSNBC and CNN and stuff? Because that's what they are. And they're another kind of Judas goat thing. People thinking, like, giving you a little tiny bit of leftist stuff, making you think that they're leftist, but really they're just part of the establishment. Getting $20 million in funding by, was it Jeffrey Katzenberg or something? Why do people keep paying attention to them? I don't know. Anyway, Holly said there's a picture of Anna with Madeleine Albright. Exactly. And they're putting out national security state talking points and Russiagating and stuff. Anyway, so I never saw that Plandemic, Adam. I didn't really feel like watching nonsense. There was enough going on with the QAnon and all of that. And I was you'd hear bits and pieces from Robbie and stuff, but I never watched the Plandemic. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Adam, I have no idea either. Why on earth people, I don't know. Like, when do people put a lid on them and say, okay, put that canister over beside all the other tosses in the mainstream media. They're just part of that. Stop singling them out and stop being shocked that they do something like what he's doing right now is trying to shit all over the Medicare for All force the vote thing. Like, when are people going to just stop, just sort of like just say, okay, they're officially part of the corporate-owned media, so just stop even looking at them. Like, there was some disabled person on this Twitter thing was saying to Cenk Uygur, oh, I'm so glad for TYT, you've helped me get through this last year. And I said, you know that Cenk Uygur is actually against this Medicare for All thing, and that's why he's dumping all over Force the Vote.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck? People just doing stuff against their own interests. And I said, and by the way, he's a millionaire, so why on earth are you giving him money? He's got like $5+ million. That's what we know of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on top of that, Cenk Uygur, the TYT employed, they got a whole bunch of that money, like $20 million, that they were supposed to hire people to do some work for them. And then they kept them on for a year and then put most of them off. Like, fired most of them. Anyway. I don't know, people have been making excuses for Cenk Uygur now because he helped them. Like, for a long time, Jimmy Dore was making excuses for Cenk Uygur, and even Abby was kind of like, Abby and Robbie were had deference to him, sort of thing. Because he'd helped them, and it was like Cenk Uygur stuck up for Abby Martin when she was getting really harassed about the whole, when she was on RT and they were trying to make out she was some sort of Russian agent or something. I don't know. And he might have done those things.
She was working for RT, of course she was.
And it's very nice that he did that, but I mean, at some point, I wish people would just stop giving him a pass. Like, there's somebody else who, that's right, Joe Rogan, for fuck's sake. I mean, that man, I'm sorry, there's all these different people seem to love him, but he's the biggest transphobe around. He just constantly constantly, isn't he, Dee Dee? Any
Yeah.
excuse to be transphobic. He was even transphobic when he was talking to Edward Snowden, and he tried to.
And Edward Snowden
he tried
actually had a go at him
Yeah,
about it.
Edward Snowden wouldn't go along with it, and then he felt. Then suddenly, Joe Rogan was feeling a bit embarrassed, and Edward Snowden said, "Is this really the hill you want to die on?" to him. But he also does like incredibly misogynist stuff. His opinions change. Doesn't matter who is in front of him. He'll change depending on who he's talking to. His opinions. Like 1 minute he's going, healthcare is a right if he's speaking to Bernie Sanders, and the next thing, if he's speaking to somebody else who doesn't agree with that, he'll be going. He actually said, health insurance is a right. He said that to, I think it was Edward Snowden. I don't know where Edward Snowden was on Medicare for All, but for some reason health insurance came up, and he said health insurance is a right. I mean, why do people keep elevating him this way, as if he's some sort of fucking hero? I don't understand it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And then he's all for the far righters and stuff.
Yeah.
He's got all these different far righters. And you should, and
Ginny's
this
here.
comment section is just a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny says, yeah, don't be sorry, Trish, I did. But it's just sort of like, I don't know, it's like, I know he's really powerful because he's got $100 million now and he's got a big platform, and like you can get an incredible boost when you go on, and occasionally he'll talk about Palestine with Abby Martin, and I think that's really great. But it's like he does so much damage, and I believe that anybody who is dumping on trans people at a time where that is the flavor of the year to do, because they can't do it anymore really to gay people because marriage equality and all of that's moved on, so they seem like they're real tosses if they're dumping on gay people, even though of course there's plenty that do, but now it's trans people have become the target now. And there's such a small group of people on the planet, like it's like a few million trans people on the planet. Trans people have been around for thousands of years. It's not some newfangled fucking thing that's happened this fucking century.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan is because he knows he's not going to get much pushback, and even from people on the left he doesn't get much pushback because there's so many people on the left don't even understand it, and they're just sitting on their hands because they don't know what to say, or they're fucking threatened because they haven't adjusted to the fact that there are more than the binary, and he just stomps his way through and shits all over fucking trans people any opportunity he gets, and he gets all these far righters going yeah, and then he gets the left who are either sitting on their hands and they don't fucking say anything, or they're transphobic themselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is something that really, I get really upset about this, because I notice that there are trans people, there are people on the left that are not wanting to even educate themselves about it because they're either afraid to, because they see that there's or they've got a transphobic position themselves, and they sort of don't understand it. There's so much ignorance, and it just makes me really sad, It reminds me of the Palestinian issue a couple of decades, or about 10 years ago, where people didn't understand it at all, and 2014 hadn't happened. And so I was even in this position where I didn't know what it was about, and I didn't have any access. This is before 2013, before I saw Breaking the Set. I didn't have any access to that I knew of any real information about that. And so I would just shut up about it because I didn't know what was going on. And then I found out about it, and then I thought, oh shit, this is really bad. There's nothing but propaganda out there about the Palestinians. But, but at best I just shut up about it because I didn't understand it. Well, I prefer it if people, particularly on the left, if they don't understand it, it's best to just shut up about it. But better still, it would be great if people would go and educate themselves about it. And there are a number of people online now, even on my channel. Like we talk about gender issues on here. There's a few videos we've done, but it's like there's a number of people, trans issues and stuff. But there are, and Dee Dee helped write the legislation in Tasmania for for what was it, Dee Dee, the birth certificates. And so Dee Dee has a lot of knowledge about that stuff, and like I just think we've really got to move beyond this. Oh, I don't know what to think about it. Oh, it's some newfangled thing that's happening. Gender, everybody's going to want to be trans and all this bullshit. Or trans people, trans women are going to come into the bathrooms and attack women. All this fucking toxic propaganda that needs to be addressed. And because there are people dying, there are trans people dying every fucking day, or particularly in Brazil, but in the United States, every year there's like, how many, about 30 or 40? Yeah, and most of them are black trans women.
30, usually people of color.
Yeah, black trans women. So if Black Lives Matter, then Black Trans Lives Matter. That's how we should look at it as well.
About Black Lives Matter is they've always sort of included trans women.
What's that, Dee Dee?
Black Lives Matter has always
yes, exactly.
Done
and
that. And also
if Cornel West can fucking get on board with things, and look, how old is he? 72? If Cornel West can understand this fucking issue, why can't people that are like in their fucking 30s? Cornel West is always talking about trans brothers and sisters. I mean, he's just such a treasure. I know sometimes he gets a bit off the point when it comes to election time, and he starts going for the lesser evil thing because he gets free.
He knows that it's bullshit.
Yeah, he knows it's bullshit. But I mean, he's so good with trans issues. If he can get on board with that and understand it, and he's a you know what I mean. So why can't other people? And like and Adam was mentioning about Media Roots Radio. Yeah, they did a great little thing actually, which I was going to post that section they did recently about Tulsi Gabbard and her transphobic legislation that she's trying to introduce, which Dee Dee and I we're going to talk about sometime soon. But then all this stuff happened in my life, and it got put on hold. But I was going to post this bit that Robbie and Abby Martin were talking about, and I'm so glad that they're at least Robbie and Abby Martin are for trans rights.
This time too, with so many important issues, for her to be then focusing on transphobia is just ludicrous. It's like, oh, is that the issue that you consider important in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, really.
Where people are trying to get health care, and people are trying to get some sort of support.
That's a major grift to the right.
Support for unemployed people and the people who are, when people are being evicted and all this sort of stuff. You're going to go for trans people.
Yeah, there's a
let's attack trans people. What a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Jesus God in heaven.
Yeah. Anyway,
and it's so ridiculous. I mean, I'm sorry.
No, but it is. It's ridiculous.
Well, the fact that what they were doing was actually, having a go at schools that allowed trans girls basically to compete or engage in I guess PE, or I mean she's trying to take money off of any school that allows trans people into a women's sports program.
Yeah.
And I mean, for God's sake, that's physical education. And if it's any school, you're talking about public schools. To say you don't want trans kids to be able to...
Stop playing, Dee Dee. Dee Dee, stop playing so you can concentrate on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Dee Dee?
Yeah. To say that you don't want trans people trans children in public schools to be able to participate in sports. I mean, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's not like the international sports people don't already have all kinds of rules to deal with trans people and intersex people.
Yeah. And there's steroids. There's steroids abounding too in sports. Like there's so many people using steroids. And does Tulsi Gabbard talk about that? No. You know what I mean? It's outright just transphobic. You know what I'm saying, don't you? Here she is afraid of, pretending
doping stuff, but I mean,
there's heaps of doping.
Honestly, it's like trans women. I mean, it gets confusing because there's an awful lot of actually intersex women in sports.
What's that, Dee Dee? Sorry,
there's
say
a
that
lot
again.
of intersex women in sports.
Yes.
I mean, ever since
And
they've
talk about-
started doing all of this garbage with the transphobia in sports, they've or trying to think about, are men pretending to be women? The people they've mainly ended up kicking out or making issues of or saying you're the wrong gender are intersex people. And I'll tell you, if you're intersex and the main form of intersexing that happens in that situation is AIS people, androgen insensitivity syndrome.
Yeah.
And what that is although you're producing testosterone as a child, your receptors for testosterone won't take that hormone. So it doesn't matter how much testosterone you've got in you, your body doesn't perceive it.
Right.
And because people will develop as female by default,
Yeah.
those people develop as female, in the womb. They come out and they're assigned female at birth. They grow up thinking they're girls, and all of that sort of thing. And they might be XY chromosomally. They might have high testosterone levels, but if they could use the testosterone, they would be boys.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're not means that they can't use it. So it doesn't matter how much testosterone you have in your system if you can't use any of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have less testosterone than most women, most chromosomal women, XX women. And it's ludicrous. And then you have trans people who, you would be taking something which they normally give, it's a drug that you give prisoners when you do chemical castration.
Yeah.
It's to eliminate, the testosterone, absolutely. And then they're taking female hormones, and, they don't have the muscle mass of men. I'm sorry, they just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of variation in testosterone anyway. No.
It's just a grift to the right. What she's doing,
Adam
Dee
say
Dee.
absolutely. Black trans women
Jesus.
are extremely susceptible to police
It's
brutality.
what?
Absolutely. And the corruption that goes around criminalization of sex work, that's just disgusting too. Because any black trans woman is almost automatically assumed to be a sex worker. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
And sex work is criminalized, and that's just disgusting anyway, and it just promotes corruption with the police and standing over and demanding sex for not arresting you and harassing you.
Yeah, really. And that's something else that Chris Hedges talked about. Now, I'm not saying
Chris
that Chris
Hedges gets the sex work thing really wrong.
Yeah, he gets the
That's one
No,
of the
I'm just
areas,
saying he was talking. This is the funny thing. He was talking about how police were actually, it's, you service me, or I'm gonna take you down to the station. That happens a lot, and all that.
That happens a lot.
And worse, we're holding a gun to sex workers and forcing them to do
taking money
stuff.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just disgusting.
And
but
of course, if you're a sex worker in that situation, you're never going to go to the police if somebody does bad things to you.
Yeah, and
if somebody is a thief or beats you up or something like that. I mean, it's interesting. People talk about and pimps and all that sort of stuff. Well, sex work has been decriminalized in New South Wales, and you find sex workers don't have pimps because basically they don't need anybody to look at to deal with people who are going to assault them.
Yeah.
Which is, the main relationship sex workers might want to have
Yeah.
in relation to a man.
Mm.
And you don't need to have somebody going out and talking to somebody and saying, I know a girl, you go to and trying to get men in as customers so the women don't have to do it themselves. Yeah.
But it's worked out fine with the, decriminalisation, hasn't it?
Well, it hasn't worked out perfectly because the sex negativity still exists.
Sure.
But in terms of that kind of stuff, you have people. I remember there was some foreign women who they would have called trafficked, who had come over here to do sex work for economic reasons.
Yeah.
And they found that the people who they had made a deal with were going back on what they said, the deal they were going to do.
Yeah.
They were taking more money, the conditions weren't right.
Yeah.
And so because they were in New South Wales and they knew that sex work was decriminalized, they felt confident enough to go to the police to say, these guys are cheating us.
Yes.
Yeah, the police didn't quite know what to do with it, and they contacted SWAP, the Sex Workers Outreach Project.
Yeah.
And they helped. But I mean, it's that kind of thing. It's like, if it's decriminalized, then people have the confidence to demand decent conditions and to end the more exploitative practices.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
we should
that's
do this
fine.
on a podcast.
I wanted to just say something because David said something here. Rigid conception of gender is such an impediment to human growth.
It is.
I wish people would just love all others. What's best for you is what's best for everybody.
And the thing is, with so-called gender roles, and that kind of stuff, it's nonsense. It's this very narrow thing that if you're this gender, you're supposed to behave this way and that way.
Yeah.
And diversity, so-called gender diversity, is really just human diversity.
Yes.
It's just people behaving in diverse ways, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I often wonder what I would be like if I grew up in a world where there wasn't that obsession with binary and forcing people and making sure and punishing them if they don't remain in the binary gender, right?
Yeah.
I wonder how I would develop and grow up, and what I would be like if I didn't have that constant invisible and not invisible pressure to conform, to a certain way of behaving and a certain way of looking and all of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't you wonder what you'd be like? I do. I often wonder that, and I wonder and I sometimes see the abuse that children go through, like particularly male children, to not be. Even today, you would think that we would have moved beyond this, but no. There are still a lot of young boys who are punished for being emotional. And you see women punished. You see women, Didi. You see women, either on the media or whatever, mocking. Even if it's supposed to be comedic, they're mocking males for being emotional.
Well, comedy can
and
be
that's disgusting.
A real reinforcer of
Yes,
gender
it is.
stereotype.
It is.
By laughing at people who are different.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Exactly. But it's child abuse to punish any child, but and male children in particular, punish them for showing emotion and for having feelings and empathy. I see that as child abuse, and that should actually be seen and viewed by people as child abuse. Because, it fucks those children up, and it fucks up their relationships with other people, and eventually they might join the fucking army or fucking police, and they're messing people up, they're abusing their fucking partner, and they're destroying their own self because they don't know how to, they can't even work out what they're feeling, and then they end up killing their whole fucking family because it's all part of that patriarchal BS of property that you know what I mean. It all goes together nicely.
Yeah.
All of that, and it, it's just a tragedy. Like I saw somebody, we know somebody, I'm not going to go into it, but we saw this family with a really young boy who looked like he had artistic leanings and stuff. You know who I'm talking about, don't you, Dee Dee?
I do.
And you know, we thought, oh, and you know, he possibly could even have been, I don't know, but he was very artistic, and that father made sure that he was a footballer. He did everything he could to make sure that kid did not express himself in an artistic way. And I imagine also the way the father was treating the mother and sort of like being offhanded with the mother, then all the boys started becoming that way too.
Yeah.
And sort of not seeing anything she said as having value. And so who knows? I don't know. We don't know how he's ended up growing up, but we saw what that father was doing to this child, this male child, didn't we?
Yeah.
Hey, Dee Dee,
It was just disgusting.
You'll have to stop sometimes if you want to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
You get distracted by the thing. Anyway.
I wasn't distracted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Anyhow, so, you know, that's the you know, that's the problem. It's
I mean,
it's just the whole gender stereotypes of what women are and what men are constructed.
I mean,
where does that come from, Dee Dee? You know, like it's a lot of it is a construction of what we, and it actually fits into capitalist aims, and it fits into
patriarchy.
And it fits into patriarchy,
things.
and it fits into imperialist aims.
Yeah.
It all goes nicely together to keep this shit show going, this status quo, and that's another thing that we need liberation from.
Yeah.
We need liberation from it because it's actually helping keep going. You know, it keeps propelling.
It is a lot of patriarchy is about war, and the you know, like that whole thing of, you know, don't show that you're suffering, be strong, be tough, be whatever.
Yeah.
All of that is about, you know, like, don't be afraid to have a big punch up. You know, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is about don't show your emotion. That's about war. That's about killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about getting ready for battle, really.
Yeah.
And making men into that. And then it fits into capitalism because it also means you can be stoic when you're being exploited and forced into work situations.
Yeah.
You don't show your emotion, don't show any of that. And it allows, those kind of attitudes also allow you to dominate women.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just
and to
disgusting.
belittle, because it becomes a thing where if you're told that having emotions and feelings and empathy is bad, whether it's outright telling you through media or if it's actually the invisible pressures, like, you know what I mean, Dee Dee?
Yeah.
When for example, when you're when you grow up and you realize that you're not straight.
Yeah.
You know there's something wrong with it, even though you know in yourself there's nothing wrong with it. But all the invisible cues,
everything you get from the society,
and the
tells
lack
you,
of
no matter
lack of information and the lack of representation in media tells you there's something wrong with you. That's what it tries to tell you.
I mean, we talk about it being socially constructed because, I mean, even if your parents are kind of okay with things like that, you get so much of that reinforced by society, by your peers. You know, like little kids, you know, boys will pick on boys that they think are too wussy or sissy or something or other.
Yes, you become your own police. Like what I was saying about women actually punishing sort of men for having, there's some women that kind of, they praise men when they're not having sort of emotions or feelings about stuff, and then
the Anita
kind of
Bryants of the world,
and it doesn't even have to be that, you know. You see it all the time on the far righters do it, but even on the left, people on the left doing it. You know, this sort of, there are ways of mocking people or making them feel like that's not okay, even without saying anything. You know. And the media, we're supposed to be kind of in some ways past that, but we're not.
We're not.
We're not at all. So it's just that, you know, anyway. And interestingly, the levels of domestic violence in the world today are astronomical, and yet does anybody actually look at the whole gender thing? Hardly anybody ever talks about where the cause of this is,
Yeah.
And I mean, why is it that that the majority of domestic violence is major majority is from from men, and yet there's no sort of thinking why
the majority of violence
is.
I mean, you get some of the men say, oh well, men get assaulted too. Well, the majority of men who get assaulted are assaulted by other men.
Yeah, yeah.
And usually it's young men assaulting other young men.
But nobody ever says, okay, so why is it that there are so many men who think it's okay to kill their whole family, including their children, when they have a depression or they have sort of difficulties financially and stuff? Why is it that instead of just thinking, oh well, I'm going to kill myself, I can't deal with it, they think, no, I'm going to take the whole fucking family with me, including 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds. I'm going to kill everybody. Now, why isn't it a sort of a major sort of discussion today? Because this is getting worse and worse in society. Why is it that it's never ever discussed that maybe it's because of the way men are being raised, that somehow there's this idea that their family is their property?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but why isn't that raised? Because it actually suits patriarchal society to keep that fucking going.
Yeah.
And it suits the war machine to keep that going. That sort of toxic masculinity that people always like to always try to make it out as if when you say toxic masculinity that means that men are toxic. No, it means that's
it means
kind
masculinity
of masculinity. That particular
the whole notion of what it means to be a man is toxic to men.
Yes, it's toxic to men, and they've done studies that it
actually has an impact.
It has
on
a terrible
too,
impact. It has a terrible impact on young boys and young men. That sort of attitude, doesn't it, Dee Dee?
Yeah, the whole issue is that it's toxic to men.
Yes, and of course, and any relationships that are had.
Yeah.
And we saw that young man, that young boy that we just mentioned before. We saw him go from that, who was really creative, to being this sort of footballer sort of type.
Although I have to say, now he hates his father.
Yes, and now he seems to hate his father.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's changed, but he really hated his father and wanted to get the hell out of home.
And you can see why.
Anyway.
I have to say, you can see absolutely why. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no real proper discussion about, why men will take out their whole families. It's very rare that women will ever do that. Hey, Dee Dee.
Yeah.
You get the occasional...
David said before that native tribes of the Los Angeles and Western USA had 4 or 5 genders. A lot of places in the world, most places, other than that Anglo-Saxon Christian thing, had more than 2 genders. There was always at least recognition of a 3rd gender, including Islam. And why not? I mean, yes, they're recognizing it because it's there. But, I mean, why really do we have all these issues with people's gender anyway? It's only human diversity.
What are people afraid of?
I don't know. Well, I think it's the undermining of the system that supports war and imperialism and supports patriarchy. And if you have a system where you can see that women can do anything that men can do, and where men don't have to be brutal and that kind of stuff, then it undermines all of that insanity. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. People, Trish was saying, it becomes that the population polices itself. Yeah. But I think as people, it's that thing where people are taught that difference is somehow problematic. And I think increasingly people are starting to see that difference isn't really problematic. Difference is just difference. Diversity is just diversity, and it's not a bad thing. In biology, we always talk about the fact that diversity is an essential survival quality. That if you don't have diversity, you don't have real resilience, because you may be perfectly adapted to an environment, but if that environment changes, your adaptation may not work. And it's like some of the plant things that happen in where you have specialized plants that have been bred for maximum outcome of wheat. They do that in Australia here. And while that's, kind of okay, like the most ridiculous thing is that it doesn't work well for people. You have let's see, I stopped playing this for a minute. Everybody can just watch out the window. Everybody can sit in this little house and watch out the window. They were breeding wheat to have the maximum output, but you needed all the right fertilizers and all the right inputs and the right temperature and so on, and it wasn't as robust as the traditional breeds of wheat. The traditional breeds of wheat are much more able to adapt to lower rainfall, occasional drought situations, more salt in the soil, all the things that plague real life. High rainfall sometimes, they were much more robust. And so, although farmers were encouraged to get these high yield varieties of wheat, they found that in fact the high yield varieties didn't work well, because while they were really great if all the conditions were right and all the inputs were provided, in fact they didn't work as well as the regular ones if all the conditions weren't right, and all the conditions weren't right most of the time. Difference is bliss, David Kapoor says. Yes, I've called my freighter and this thing the excellence of diversity. Diversity is wonderful. And really all this gender stuff, if we stop seeing things through a lens where things are divided into male traits and female traits, and male clothes and female clothes, and male shoes and female shoes, and male activities and when we stop doing that, they're all human traits. They're all just clothing. They're just cloth worn in an interesting way. I mean, empathy is a human trait. Communication is a human trait. Strength is a human trait. Assertiveness is a human trait. Anger is a human trait. Love is a human trait. Nurturing is a human trait. It's not, it doesn't divide. And people all have all of these things to greater or lesser degrees. And who we are is just diverse. We all have, there is no such thing as the average person. There is no such thing as the average person. It's a statistical myth. And there's no such thing as normal, really. Well, it's norms. I actually think what a lot of things that we see as problematic are quite normal in the sense that a lot of people display them. Adam says exactly, the lens in which people view the world needs to change. Absolutely. We need to get rid of this gender lens and just see it as human diversity. Yeah. It's just how we're wearing our hair, and and the ridiculous thing is, because it's a plaid skirt, we call a kilt a male, thing, because it's, used in the Middle East. A galabeya is not a dress. Yeah, you have these priests who come out in robes, and we don't call those dresses; those are robes. They're a priest, and priests are very masculine, yes, and the whole thing is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but the whole thing is freaking ridiculous. Anyway, my little base will eventually light up. I'm going to go take off and see if this is in fact near the center of the galaxy. Trisha's just given me some macadamia nuts. Something to chew while I'm sitting with a microphone in my... Yeah. Thank you, Trisha. Do you have your mic on? Yeah.
I don't know how I went off on that tangent about the trans thing, which led to the sex worker and then the gender thing.
Well, you can see that's a hot issue. Hot button issue for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so angry at Glenn Greenwald for buying into this whole shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
as my mother said, he needs his pants smacked.
Yeah, really. I mean, there's so much rubbish, which is just transphobic garbage, put out in the guise of free speech. As if trans people have the power to do any freaking thing.
Yeah. There was a brief time there where I don't know where Chris Hedges is on trans things now, but he had the most appalling turf on his show on Contact. Two of them. And then the next time he then had
Paula Parks,
a trans woman who was talking about it. Thank goodness, because my goodness, the turfs he had on were just appalling. Yeah. And I was thinking, what the hell? Because I mean, I know that Chris Hedges has a problem with sex workers, and he literally did an article that said sex workers rape or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's kind of sex negative, and he really has a problem with BDSM, and thinks that's he doesn't actually seem to understand that a lot of that BDSM is supposed to. Are you all right? Do you want me to hit you on the back?
No, I think I'm okay.
Okay. That BDSM is non-consensual or something.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to understand the whole that there are some people that that like
kink. He seems to have bought into that.
The Puritan,
very restrictive puritanical feminism.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, I don't know where he is on all of that now, but anyway. What's that?
So did Gary Francione.
Yeah. And it's too bad that he doesn't sort of interview like sex workers. And he interviewed Paula Parks, I'll give him that, about the trans issues. And God, he needed to do that after those turfs he had on. But he doesn't seem to get he doesn't seem to understand the sex worker thing. And I haven't seen him interview anybody about that. And he hasn't interviewed anybody about BDSM. So I don't think he understands that at all. You sure you don't want me to hit you on the back? I don't want you to choke on a peanut. Are you all right? You sure? Okay.
I took my mic off.
Oh, okay. Dee Dee's gonna cough now. So anyway, what are we talking about now? Jeffrey says, this is why I love these live streams. Bless you, Trish and Dee Dee. What was that in relation to, Jeffrey? And thanks for that. That's very kind. Um, Adam says Glenn Greenwald. Well, yeah, I haven't totally, like, I think there's some things he's good at, but I don't know what he's doing with a number of issues like that. Are you sure you don't want to hit on the back, Dee? The China, like the whole China thing, I don't know what he's doing there. The trans thing, I don't know what he's doing there. He seems to be putting out transphobic things. I don't know. There's just some things that I don't know what, and he's all sort of off the mark with the. I think he's vegan, but he's off the. He doesn't really seem to understand, which is a common problem. That some people, that when people go vegan, is they think that corporations are the problems, or capitalism is the problem, or that's what's driving animal, use. But it's actually not what's driving animal use. We are, if we're not vegan, we're driving animal use, and those corporations would sell us anything. They'd sell us plant-based commercial products if there was a market for it. But the reason they're selling animal products, and the reason there's Tyson's and Cargill's and Purdue and all these different huge animal exploiters that are corporations that are selling, that are killing hundreds of millions of, pigs and chickens and all of that every year, all of those sentient animals, is because we are driving that demand for animal products. It's just simply a matter of demand and supply. So there's a lot of people, sometimes they become vegan and they start doing all this animal active. They think it's animal activism that is promoting, humane animal use, in quotes, humane animal use, even though there's no such thing. Any sort of a use of animals is abusive. There's no such thing as non-abusive use of animals. But people sort of get caught up in these large animal organizations that are all promoting single issue campaigns, and the idea that there's a good way of using animals and then there's a bad way, and they never ever promote veganism straight up, because they want to ask for money for their single issue campaigns. So there's a lot of large animal organizations that are just making more money off the misery of animals by not promoting veganism clearly, and promoting these single issue campaigns that give out the idea that there's acceptable ways of exploiting animals, which there isn't. So I don't know, how did I get onto that? I don't know. Anyway, just I don't know, how did I get onto that about the supply and demand? I don't know. Anyway, I just went off on a... Yes, welfareism and new welfareism are absolute jokes, Kim. That's right. But anyway,
you were
large
talking
animal...
about Glenn Greenwald.
Oh, Glenn Greenwald, that's right. So, do you want me to hit you on the back?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Come and hit me. It's consensual. Yeah. The mic's on. Okay, hopefully that'll save me. Yeah, I turned my mic back on. I'm being attacked by strange pirate people. I don't know why.
Yeah, but back to Glenn Greenwald. It's good that he's gone vegan from what he said, but just sort of praising groups like Direct Action Everywhere, which is a sort of a all about the optics, all about drama and stuff, and they actually poo-poo veganism. So I'm sorry, but you can't call yourself an animal rights activist if you're not only are you not suggesting that veganism is important, but you're actually dumping on veganism at every turn, which is what they do. So Glenn Greenwald often highlights this group Direct Action Everywhere, and it's so sad because that group doesn't even they continually dump on veganism and say it's not important, or it's some sort of quote unquote personal choice, or it's some kind of a what was it just about, it was yeah, some sort of personal action or something like that. I forget. It's so long since I've paid attention to them. And if only he would sort of, that's a thing that new vegans make all the time, is thinking that that kind of activism, and it doesn't matter, and they think that that kind of activism, which isn't clearly promoting veganism, they think that it's good activism, which it isn't.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's another thing that is, but I don't blame him too much for that, because it's not surprising that he's gone down that route, because there are a lot of people who call themselves vegans who think that anything is good to do if it's about animals, anything at all. Promoting humane animal use is good. Promoting every little bit helps is good, and all this kind of stuff. It's not.
And
there's nothing clear about it.
Take much to actually go vegan. It's not hard.
No.
I mean, there's actually plenty of food that you can eat. It's not expensive, as long as you're not going for all the fancy vegan stuff. And pre-made products. I mean, we didn't have a lot of those pre-made products here, especially in Tasmania. And for years and years, and we weren't lacking anything. Basically, with beans, grains, or pulses and grains, and vegetables, you can make all kinds of Latin American food, Middle Eastern food, North African food, East and Southeast Asian food, Chinese food, Japanese food. All of that is very easily adapted to veganism.
And it's really easy to get clothes.
Yeah.
Clothes are not animal products.
Oh, Trish was saying it's very easy to get clothes that aren't animal products. Anyway, thank you, David. And Jenny, yes, I'm okay. Little bits of nuts. My airways are very sensitive, and if I get any little bit caught in them, I seem to end up coughing and choking and having a really hard time. But it's usually not serious, because it's not really anything that's going to block my airways. It's just some tiny thing that's evoking a coughing reaction. Anyway, let's see, where am I going? Somebody else came here. It does.
The day goes so quickly, but we managed to go on a walk today. Oh no, we're hurtling through space again.
No, we're hurtling. Yeah, we hurtle through space a lot.
I'd be freaking out if I was traveling in a craft like that and I had that in my windscreen, like hurtling.
Let's see.
That's very good. Jeffrey says, must masticate macadamias muchly, madam.
It was very, very tiny. It was a tiny little scrap of macadamias, and yeah, it's just unfortunate.
And Jeffrey said, thank my female relatives for encouraging my emotional growth. Seems to be rare among male peers. Are you still there, David? And who else was here in the beginning? Kim seems to have dropped. Alex. Alex seems to have dropped off the map.
Oh, really? Why?
I don't know.
No, I'm selling the wrong stuff.
Fruits. Kim said, fruits, veggies, fungi, nuts, seeds, grains, legumes, pulses, herbs, spices, and condiments. Yeah. We just got these 2 racks that we put up on the wall, and they've got about 40 different spices in them, haven't they, Didi?
Yeah.
And we
50.
still need to put up a couple more racks,
Yeah.
because
50,
we've got
50
another.
different things.
Yeah, 50. Amazing.
Yeah.
And we use a lot of them, don't we, Didi?
Yeah.
Pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
Just plugging away at work over here. Oh yeah, what do you mind me asking what kind of work you do, David? Isn't it a bit late to be are you working late, or are you working on something at home? And Jeffrey said, look out, Didi, Trump might conscript you for the Space Force and be a space guardian.
Yes.
Have you seen the outfits for the Space Guardian?
The outfits look ridiculous.
Jesus.
God.
It starts to get... They've just become a
says,
parody.
It looked like a crossing guard.
Yes,
I think
the Soviet crossing guard.
They're supposed to look a lot like the Star Trek, uniforms where when Captain Kirk was an admiral or something, they had those things that, folded over in a flap and made kind of a triangle thing, and they had their little weird turtlenecks.
Oh, David, I'm sorry. David's saying, I'm an architect, just building a 3D model at home, which is my office. Oh, very good.
Wow.
Didi's actually managed to draw up the plans for this house here. And actually before that, she drew up some other plans, but we had to change those plans. Why was that, Didi?
Basically because, there was one set, because the council was so stupid, it was going to be a mud brick house, because I've got a lot of experience building mud brick, but they wanted us to drill holes through the mud brick and put threaded rod to hold the roof down. And I kind of pointed out that, that's ridiculous. It's going to weaken the bricks immensely if you don't crack them while you're doing it. And rules are rules.
Isn't that ridiculous?
The roof isn't going to fly away.
Which is that basically undoing the whole idea of the mud brick house, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we were going to do a mud brick thing
originally,
and then all that nonsense came up.
And then we went for a straw bale thing, but we really don't have the community here, and it's very wet in Tasmania, and so it's hard to build a straw bale wall and keep it dry while you're building it before you put some sort of seal on it. So anyway, we did something different, and but it's sort of worked out really well. But Didi sort of drew up those plans, which is very clever. Rammed earth, Jeffrey says rammed earth is great.
And what are you doing this evening, Kim, if you don't mind my asking? Like, apart from watching this. If anybody wants to raise a particular topic to chat about, feel free to do so. I mean, we just meander on with different things, don't we, Didi? I mean, we don't have any... I get on here and I think, maybe I should have some things to talk about. But it ends up that we just kind of roll through different things. David said, mud brick is cool. You may want to check out the Cal Earth Institute, which is DIY type of rammed earth construction using long bags of sand. Yes,
I've seen those. I lived in New Mexico for some time, and we did a lot of mud brick houses that were more traditional adobe type things. But I've lived and been in the Middle East and seen a lot of the really interesting mud brick stuff there. The problem, of course, with mud brick here is the same as with straw bale, that it's a very wet climate, It's a wet climate, and yeah, I'm gonna have to go.
So what do they do, Didi, with the long bags of sand? They cover them?
It's, you fill them full of dirt, and you can actually use them. It's great for doing curved walls and stuff like that. It's really good. There's some, the Calverth Institute is really interesting. Yeah.
I'll repost that link, David, because for some reason I can't show it. YouTube has kind of made it so I can't actually show it.
Oh, it's a link. The
so
Instagram.com.
There's a link
you can't
here.
Put that on?
Huh?
You can't put that Instagram link that David Kapoor put up?
Yeah, I just reposted it, Didi.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, the Calverth Institute is great, and I've seen some really interesting, good things about domed buildings with with Adobe, and
they're great.
My daughter lives in California, and she does all kinds of things with Adobe, rammed earth, cement, including the aerated cements and so on. She goes down to Mexico sometimes and does like women's centers and women's health centers and stuff in Mexico. Help building things. She's very into environmentally sound and unique kind of buildings, isn't she?
Yes, yes. You know what? I don't know if David, if you know of any this is something. This probably sounds a bit tosserish what I'm going to say, but I love actually sitting in those soft tubs, and I just find them incredibly relaxing, and that's probably something that I could really like. They've become really expensive now, soft tubs, haven't they, Didi?
Yeah.
They used to be I mean, they're expensive anyway. They used to be expensive anyhow, but now they're like twice as much. And I just wonder if you know of anybody that actually makes them, meaning, like a DIY sort of making a hot tub. I imagine, Didi, you couldn't really make a hot tub with sort of like some kind of Adobe sort of wall things, could you? Or could you?
Oh yeah. You mean using Adobe for a tub?
Yeah.
Not really.
No, you couldn't. No,
it's mud.
No, listen.
Mud, bricks, and water.
No.
Don't really work.
No. You have some sort of a thing between that and the. You know what I mean? You have something between that and the wall. I don't mean an Adobe bricks that's part of the tub and washes into the tub. No. Okay, so Jeffrey Long says, thanks, David and Trish. I find this most interesting right up there with Buckminster. Buckminster?
Oh, yeah. Buckminster Fuller. Buckminster Fuller, I actually probably got my start building things. I went to Pacific High School, which is the high school where it ran out of money, and a lot of the kids moved in and built domes, and Dome Book 1 and Dome Book 2 came out of that. And you might be interested in that. That was in the 60s. Yeah. And we had Bucky Fuller come out to the ranch. I loved Ideas and Integrity. I loved Ideas and Integrity, which is one of Buckminster Fuller's books. He was a real visionary. I love in that book he talked about the good use of resources, and the fact that there's already enough resources. At that time, there's already enough resources, he was saying, already dug up in phone lines, that if you recycled it and used the most modern technology, you could put a phone in every household on Earth.
Yeah.
And I thought his work was just fabulous. But he said the reason, of course, that never gets done is because of money, and money is the biggest impediment to the useful adaptation, the real human adaptation of technology. That technology can do so much if we used it sensibly, but to use it sensibly, we'd have to get out of this economic system.
Yeah. And Didi, Lorna was saying, have you seen 3D printing house construction? I have. And
I've never seen.
Kind of fascinating.
I'm afraid I don't understand. That's a technology I've never really studied, and so I don't know much about 3D technology.
Yeah.
I'm interested, but
yeah.
I don't know. I just don't seem to have had the time to do that.
Yeah.
Or I haven't taken
it's really
the time to do
fascinating because they've.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting. I find it hard to sort of work out, like, for example, if they're making a gun. People can make a gun out of 3D printing, and I sort of think, how do you, like, what exactly are they using for that gun? And how do you get sort of the working, moving parts and things like that? It's just kind of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you had one of those and you were in the far right, you could you could fix the whole army then, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Didi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David says Buckminster is the OG. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He's fabulous.
Anyhow, that's nice that you're able to work at home, David.
Yeah.
That's good. So that probably means, does it mean, have you been affected by the COVID, the people being impoverished by all of that, like, or are you still getting sort of work, like people are still able to afford architects and stuff?
Yeah.
Adam said, oh, Jeffrey said just opened a Tasmanian cider. Is it pagan cider?
Yeah.
And Adam said, oh my God, there's Wuhan New Year's videos and everyone is out celebrating. Oh, maybe they've got that pretty under control though. And
Yeah. There was a.
Oh, hang on a second.
Something by one of the expats who lives in China, from one of the big Chinese cities, and they were saying nobody's wearing masks. Oh, it's terrible. He said they've paid the price. Like here in Tasmania, very few people wear masks or anything anymore, mostly because we've had huge lockdowns in the beginning. They've done all their contract tracing, and I don't think there's been a case of community transmission for something like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, we did the right thing in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so people are no longer so worried. I mean, our biggest worry now is people coming in from other states.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some things happening.
New South Wales is having problems.
New South Wales and Victoria. There's things happening there. Like that, I don't know. Hopefully they've got it under control, but.
Yeah. Ooh. There's a huge.
Mercury hard cider. I don't know that one.
Which one?
Mercury hard cider.
Ah, yeah.
I don't know that
There's
one.
a lot of people doing different ciders. If you can find it, try pagan cider.
Yeah, pagan cider.
I mean, there's Willie Smith cider,
great.
which is near us. It's a Huon Valley cider. But Willie Smith cider is incredibly dry, and we're not that fond of that.
No.
Yeah, we really like pagan cider because you get more of the full-on
Fruity.
taste of the apples.
Yeah, you do.
But they also do all kinds of other ciders. They do blueberry cider and cherry cider and strawberry
they
cider.
do.
Their strawberry cider is to die for. It's
like
an
champagne.
apple strawberry cider, and it actually tastes like champagne and strawberries.
Yes, it's yummy.
Yeah, it's really yummy.
Yeah, it's really yummy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
Jeffrey says local government, David, always a bottleneck here in Australia. Yes, and the Huon Council, which is Huon Valley Council, which is our local council, is one of the worst.
yeah.
Yeah, they're really horrible. I think we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeffrey said, "Ooh, I will hunt down the pagan cider. This one is crushed raspberry, 8.2%. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Crushed raspberry.
We had some raspberry cider the other day, and it was a gift. But I have to say, I wasn't as fond of it as some of the other ciders.
But the ale that they gave us
The ale was wonderful.
was
They
very
did a
good.
dark
It was
ale.
It's very similar to what we like, actually.
Yeah,
it was
it was-
very nice.
We tend to like Tooheys Old
Yep.
dark ale. I don't know if anybody from outside of here is remotely interested in this, but
Yeah. And we have to, we kind of check and make sure things are vegan and stuff like that too. That's the other thing. Not everything is vegan.
yeah.
They put a lot of dairy and
fish.
and fish and weird stuff. I mean, you can find fish and breadcrumbs and stuff. It's sort of a bit nuts, really.
Yeah.
When we looked and one day we saw there was dairy put into these little tubes of herbs, and you'd think, why on earth would anybody do that? The dairy industry must have their fingers in so many different pies
Yeah.
that everybody is using dairy when they don't have to. I mean, there are a lot of things actually that could be completely vegan that are pre-made, like all the different pies and things. There's lots of different pies that could be totally vegan if they
Yeah.
just take out.
So easy.
So easy, because I mean, you can't taste the difference between a vegan sort of some of these vegan pies and the pies that are non-vegan, and it's
Yeah.
just because they've taken out some
Yeah.
taken
Jeffrey
out
says he likes,
like eggs
he
or something.
Likes Tooheys Old.
What's that?
Jeffrey likes Tooheys
Oh,
Old
yeah?
too. Yeah, it's excellent. We probably prefer it in some ways to the imported Guinness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For those who don't know,
yes.
it's
And
very
imported
kind of
Guinness.
like Guinness.
It was non-vegan. Guinness was non-vegan, and then I don't know if they actually made it. This is the stuff from, like the Guinness, the Irish stuff. I don't know if they actually made it vegan yet or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, they also do a crushed passion fruit. I also like Tooheys Old and Cooper's. Oh yeah, Jeffrey said that.
Yeah.
And
Kim said
Jeffrey.
they'll put animal bits in anything. We saw in Scottsdale it was very hard to get any kind of really nice herbs, and we were trying to get some basil, and they didn't have any fresh basil, and they hadn't had for a while. And they had some basil in a tube, and we looked at the contents, and it had milk products in it. And I think, how can you have basil, crushed basil? Why would you add milk products to it? Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. What am I doing? Oh, I'm trying to sell stuff. I'm just trying to think what I'm doing in this game, and now I remember. Yeah. Oh yes, Merry Calendars. It's an American thing. It was a fruit pie, a berry pie. Yeah, it was vegan. And well, it's Woolworths. Well, Woolworths is more or less a monopoly. There's a duopoly here for supermarkets in Australia, for those who don't come from here. There's Coles and Woolworths, and they both own hardware businesses. I think Woolies owns Bunnings and is part of the West Farmer thing, which used to be a farmers co-op in WA once upon a time. But it got bigger and bigger, and it's become privatized, and it bought up the supermarket chain. And at this point, the supermarket chains are eliminating virtually all of the products and going for own brand, the Woolworths brand. And of course the international brands, the ones that Nestle's owns, like Bird's Eye, and it bought up a whole lot of Australian brands, and it's kept them as separate brand names, but it's all owned by Nestle's. Actually, at this point, it's owned by a conglomerate of French bankers and Nestle's, and they own most of the ice cream in, I think, the United States, Europe, and Australia.
Who does Nestle own, did he?
There's a group, I've forgotten.
Oh, Western
what it
Farmers
is.
Markets.
No, Nestle's bought up almost all the many of the Australian brands.
Right.
Yeah, like Peters and Paul's and various ice cream brands.
Mm-hmm.
I think it owns Connoisseur. I think it owns, it owns a lot of brands.
Right.
And they bought up a lot of brands. It owns Bird's Eye. It owns, some other fruit canning thing, and it's just heaps of different things.
Uh-huh.
They had been bought up by Dunlop, Pacific Dunlop, which was the tire company, and they had diversified into food, and they bought up all the Australian brands, and then were bought up in turn by Nestle's. And Nestle's has merged with this group that started out as a French bankers consortium that owns most of the ice cream in Europe.
Oh.
And so Nestle's and it had formed a company, a joint company, and I think at this point they own most of the ice cream in Europe, in the United States.
Oh my God, Nestle.
And yeah.
Jesus. Did you say they bought up Dunlop?
They bought up Pacific Dunlop, yeah.
The rubber tire company.
Well, the rubber tire company bought up all these Australian brands once upon a time. And then they called it Pacific Dunlop, and then they sold that Pacific Dunlop to Nestle's. They decided to stop their diversification and get out of food. Anyway, that's just a little story.
What's that?
That's just a little story. Okay. Here we go. This is kind of a semi-interesting planet. Oh, look, there's somewhere else I can land.
Oh, Barnivore.com, lists many alcoholic products.
We do look at that.
And whether they are vegan or not, yep.
Any fans of mulled glue wine? I don't know that. Yes,
No, I've never heard of that.
Yes, Nestle's are evil.
Yeah.
I used to, before I was vegan, I used to like...
Connoisseur ice cream?
Well, that too, but no. That's not what I was thinking of. I was thinking of, what do you call it? God.
Before you were vegan, what was it? Was this
a drink? Mead. I used to really like
Oh,
mead.
yeah. Yeah.
For a while, I was doing pagan ceremonies, and we used to like mead. And but it's made with honey, so you can't eat it.
Yeah.
But I did like spiced mead.
Mm. I don't know what this character would do without that little
bankers,
little gun,
absolutely.
Dee Dee.
Yes.
What would this character do without this
Shining
little gun?
wits.
What?
As Reverend Spooner would say, they were shining wits. Jeffrey's given us a Spoonerism.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that, including that in one of Dee's speeches, where she was talking about the minister, and I included, and as Reverend Spooner would say, he's a shining wit.
A shining wit.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes. Why are the Sentinelers searching for me? Being searched
What are all
for.
those little figurines on the thing?
What little figurines?
On the planet.
What are you talking about?
I don't know, just back there were these sort of... Yeah, are they trees? Oh, okay, they look like little figurines.
Come on, why can't I land? Landing sequence unavailable. Why? There we go. No, there's
I adore runicisms.
bushy trees. Are you talking about these guys?
What's that? I don't know.
Unidentified plants. They have things running down them, look.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. They're spooky plants. There's some very strange plants and things, animals in this. Oh, suppression measure. Why? I'm just scanning things. God.
What does that mean, a suppression measure?
There's a little thing here, a sentinel. I'm gonna shoot him. Bugger. Where is he?
Oh. Who's that? Oh. What was that, Dee Dee? Why did you shoot that?
It was a little robot and it was shooting at me. It was doing suppression measures. They're called sentinels and they're around on some of these planets. But it was shooting at me for no reason. I was just scanning things. I wasn't doing anything bad. I'm gonna go and sit in my spaceship far away until they stop searching for me. Okay. Uh-oh. There's another one coming. Why? Why? Why do they want to look at me and attack me? What an awful planet. Some of these planets have incredibly aggressive sentinels. Now, this isn't a nice area at all. Somebody else's, some pirates or something are after me now. Where are the hostile ships? Oh, they're all gone. There's a bunch of them. I'm going to have to leave this solar system if this is how these people are going to be. Oh, I don't want to. You have to be careful when you have other ships around because you don't want to hurt the good ships. And these guys tend to... Okay. I think that's it. Oh no, there's another one. Buggers. Gone. Okay. Hopefully that's it. I'll try that planet and see if it's nicer. Okay. Trisha's going to feed me. You're being very naughty, Jeffrey. He said, I will not refer to Morrison's cunning stunts. No, please not. Morrison, also known as ScoMo or Scummo, our Prime Minister. I really don't understand how on earth people could have re-elected or could have re-elected him. I mean, God, I have no idea. They're so corrupt and it's so bad. Adam, I don't watch many horror movies, I have to say. Probably the closest thing to a horror movie that I enjoyed was Woven, and that's quite old, and it's not quite a horror movie. I probably did enjoy Wolf with Jack Nicholson. I'm a bit of a fan of vampires, so Interview with a Vampire was okay. It was okay. I preferred the book, but
Interview with a Vampire, that was before all the Twilight stuff, wasn't it?
oh yeah. Anne Rice wrote that, and it took ages before somebody picked it up to publish it. And in the meantime, she was doing B&D porn.
B&D what?
B&D porn.
Was she?
Yeah.
Oh, but she was writing.
Yeah, she was amazing with the vampires. Rosemary's Baby was good. Oh my, that's excellent.
What's that?
A first edition copy. Yeah. Of Anne Rice, I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay, Trisha, you're going to eat first, are you?
No. Oh, yes, okay,
Yeah,
I
you
will.
eat.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I enjoyed Anne Rice's books, the Lestat series and that kind of thing.
Let me say something about it. In 2016, when Hillary Clinton was running, I posted something to Anne Rice's page about, when Abby Martin did the Empire Files on Hillary Clinton. And anyway, she just couldn't, she just thought it was propaganda.
Yeah.
And she actually sort of said, this is just sort of made up. She got on her page, she got really upset that I posted this and couldn't believe it. And I was thinking, God, at least just look at it, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anne Rice is one of those people who, I think she was born Howard something or other, Howard O'Brien or something like that. I'm not sure why they called her Howard. She was assigned female at birth. She's not trans, although she seems to be, or certainly was at one point, reasonably trans friendly.
Yeah, there was a book. Wasn't there a book she wrote that was sort of very trans, did he?
That had
I forget what it was
trans
called.
people in it. Yeah. And I think it's the New Orleans thing. And I'm not sure where she's at now, but
Yeah.
you can never be sure with people, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to like
she's done all
Charlotte
the-
Rampling, and then we sort of recently, about 8 months or a year ago, she suddenly sort of did something really racist or said something really racist. I forget. And we just thought, oh God.
Yes, sometimes it doesn't pay to know too much about these people. You end up going, oh God.
I used to really like Nick Cave, and then I found out he's a real major pro-Zionist Israel
Nick
supporter,
Cave.
and doesn't seem to want to know anything about what's really happening. And you know, it's just sad.
Yeah. You opened for Nick Cave when you were singing, didn't you, Trishi?
What's that?
You opened for Nick Cave. Your band opened for Nick Cave when you were singing.
One of many who, yeah.
Who opened for them?
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Did he?
What?
Ask Adam who he. What song was that, Adam?
My Stego gun.
Hey Adam, can you explain to me? Oh, okay, it's called Israel. Susie and the Banshees wrote a song, Israel, too, but I don't know. I never looked at the words. But can you explain to me how come so many people ignore the fact that Tulsi Gabbard did that talk at Christians United for Israel, and it was a really pro-Zionist talk, and she's won a Champion of Israel award, and so many people seem to just not. That doesn't even seem to factor in.
Yeah,
doesn't
I just
seem
think
to
it's because they don't give a
matter at
shit
all.
about imperialism, and they don't care about.
Jeffrey says, oh, Adam said, oh my God, right. Yeah, what is that? Every time I bring that up about Tulsi Gabbard and her Kufi speech in 2015, people just kind of glaze over, and it goes into that black void. It's amazing. I don't know. Like, I don't know how is it that she could be ever considered, sort of progressive when she's never retracted or denounced that speech that she made.
She's a progressive Zionist.
It's
She's taken back her work with her father on anti-gay stuff.
Yeah.
Her father was very big in the anti-gay marriage thing, and she worked with him. And then decided it didn't fit a progressive image. But now that she's leaving politics, maybe that's why she's getting back into anti-trans stuff.
And her active military, like, how can you be anti-war and still be in the
military?
In the military.
Okay, my turn to eat.
I haven't finished yet. Go on, you could go ahead. Go ahead, Didi. How can you be, anti-imperialist and stuff when you're still in the military? And on top of that, she always goes on about how many troops are being killed, but most of the time she doesn't seem to care how many Iraqi civilians are being, killed. I don't know, there's so many things wrong there, and I think, are these people that support her, are they for real? Or are they just so enamored with her that it just doesn't matter? Are they the same in some ways as, the Trumpians, that Trump could say, okay, the moon is full of blue cheese, and they would repeat that, because a lot of Trump followers seem to believe every single thing that Trump says. And sometimes I wonder if it's a kind of a sickness, where people like Tulsi Gabbard, like anybody who follows her, like Robbie calls them toll cells, they could say anything. She could say anything and they would go along with it. I don't know. Is it that bad? I don't know. But there doesn't seem to be anything she can say. And I've always seen her as just a grifter to the right, anyway. But the fact that, like, for example, the Convo Couch, there was a brief time there where I thought the Convo Couch was okay because I hadn't watched them for long. And then their slips started showing. And, and then you realize that they're doing a lot of grifting to the right now. Pastor Jardula, I think, is actually at best a libertarian, but I heard him say something to a protester in a Trump parade that sounded very much QAnon-y to me. This sort of pedophile rings, and he was sort of congratulating some guy, which he thought he was off camera, there wasn't a hot mic, and he was saying something about pedophile rings and congratulating this guy who had this sign about, pedophilia and stuff, as if all the supposed Democrats are all pedophiles, and Anyway, so anyhow, it was just sort of so I don't know why. And it seems like they're big Tulsi Gabbard supporters. So it's strange. I don't understand it. Are we looking at that Morrissey singing about Israel? Yeah, hang on. Is this the one? I couldn't unhide that link. So I lost Morrissey after Meaty's murder. Oh, I mean, no, I think he is kind of a bit of a racist, isn't he, Morrissey? Did he? That's from the Smiths. Yeah, that's what I linked. The chat froze for a bit, but it's back now. So he's singing about Israel too. Does anybody know what the Israel by Susie and the Banshees? If that's, I'll have to look that up and look up the words and stuff. But it doesn't sound promising, does it? Yeah, I love the Smiths too. I love that How Soon Is Now. But yeah, Morrissey, it's kind of put me off. He's got some problems.
Look at this little guy. Hi.
I saw Susie and the Banshees play